Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Welcome in on a Thursday morning. A mixed bag for the U.S. Olympic basketball teams. The men's 5-on-5 team, the NBA guys, they destroyed South Sudan, won comfortably, improved to 2-0, clinched a spot in the quarterfinals. They'll play Puerto Rico, that's last place Puerto Rico, on Saturday. They ought to win that and win the group. Then there's the 3-on-3 team. Beaten again. They dropped to 0-2, and Jimmer Fredette was having his groin worked on. He looked really uncomfortable, so it's trending very, very poorly for those guys as they drop to 0-2 in pool play. Got soccer coming up tonight. We're here for Pablo Mastroeni in the next segment. He joined PK and I in the show yesterday. Get his thoughts as they get ready to play Atlas Open Play in the League's Cup. But right now, a little Utah football. It's time to hear from Jim Harding, offensive line coach at Utah. This is supposed to be a strength of the team this year. They like the way things are lining up. Here is Jim Harding talking about the Utes and his O-line.
If this team is so talented that if the offensive line is really good, barring injuries, what could go wrong? Do you guys feel like you really got the season in your hands as a group?
Well, we certainly have a lot of confidence in the players we have coming back, but there's a lot of work that remains to be done, and I firmly believe, just like most probably position coaches feel, if their kids play well, then that obviously, puts them in a position to be successful, and offensive line is no different, and 5 guys, nearly half the offense at any given play is going to be the offensive line, so. Certainly, I feel if the guys up front are playing well, we have an opportunity to have a very successful season.
Do you have anybody brand new who will contribute, or are you enough a veteran group that you can't walk in and step right in?
Brand new in terms of hasn't had a lot of playing time would be somebody like Caleb Lomu. Has a great opportunity to, we'll see where he's at starting today, but great opportunity to get a lot of playing time and fighting to keep a starting spot. Zeraway Williams is another one who is 317 pounds yesterday, I believe is what he was, and he's done a really nice job in the offseason. Ike Garcia is another one that hasn't had any game rep opportunities, but somebody that'll be competing for the 2 deep or maybe even the starting 5, depending on how things shake.
Fans and media tend to pay a lot more attention to this quote-unquote skill positions than the offensive line. And so we see the transfers and we hear about the NIL stuff. Is that a big factor with you working with guys, building and maintaining relationships so you don't lose a lot of guys in the portal? Or is that not as big a factor at this position?
I think it's a huge factor. I think, I'm of the belief that if you have the guys in your room that you can develop, I would prefer to not take any transfer guys, and I think that's the case for any position. However, we're always looking to try to get better and things like that, but we have a good culture, not only in the program, but I think in the offensive line room where we have not been hurt a ton by the transfers. But I think each year that passes, that's going to be a bigger challenge.
Regardless of the 5 you have, maybe day one, you always expect the offensive line to shuffle, especially early in the season. How many guys do you feel you're comfortable with? We always ask, do you have 8? Do you have 10? If we were to start the season right now, what's that number?
If we played today, I feel comfortable with 8. Hopefully you get 10 when it's all said and done, and then you don't have to do as much shuffling. But today I would say 8.
I asked Andy the same question. When you go back and you start looking at Big 12 teams that maybe you haven't faced before, is there he mentioned the 3 safeties, was a look he always saw. Along the front, is there a philosophical change that you saw along the Big 12, or is that something that, again, we kind of media overstate that narrative?
Yeah, in the month of June, we took a look at a handful of Big 12 teams. It's a lot more odd front, a lot more movement up front, and so that will be something that, not to say any Pac-12 team hadn't ran an odd front or moved a ton, but that'll be something that'll be a little bit different once we get into conference play. Not all the teams are odd, but I can think of 2 or 3 that we looked at that is a little bit different structurally.
So back in the day in the Mountain West, there were a lot of teams running a 3-3-5, and Andy was talking about 3 safeties. Is that what they run, and then they walk a safety down who's a strong safety linebacker hybrid?
Yeah, so that safety is a run first defender somebody that you're going to have to take into account in the box count. The closest thing we've seen that in recent years would be San Diego State a couple times. Arizona State last year ran that. So we do have some comfort level with it, but it certainly, is something that we'll see more of.
One thing I've heard from coaches who run it is that they like that they can blitz different guys from different places and slow a team down because people start thinking and then they don't play as fast. Is that the way the Big 12 teams use it? Do you see – because that would obviously be a test for the line, figuring out who am I blocking and where are they coming from.
Yeah, that's always – it certainly that does come into play. We're always looking – I call it keys to the castle. We're looking for guys who are tipping the blitz and things like that, and those are things that we go through in film study in a given game week. But yeah, the versatility of what that defense can do is a little bit different than what we faced in the past.
I grew up watching the San Diego Chargers throw the ball all over the place, and tight ends were valued based on how many catches they had. As an O-line coach, when you look at tight ends, which of the tight ends do you really value because they got the offensive lineman mentality, they love to hit people, and they're good at it?
I think Coach Freddie does a great job of instilling physicality in that group. I know the offensive line gets a lot of credit when we are running the ball successfully, but if you study it, the tight ends are just as valuable when it comes to a lot of our run schemes. So, the kid, I like the guys that are the pass catchers because if they're out split out wide, well, that lightens the box for us as well to run the football. So, I guess I'm skirting the question a little bit, but at the same time, I think we've had guys. You look at what Dalton Kincaid's doing with the Bills, Cole Fotheringham. I mean, Freddie does a great job, and I wouldn't say there's one right now that you would say is, hey, this guy is a blocking guy. The ideal offense is guys that can line up with their hand in the ground. On the very next play, they're split out, so a defensive team can't say, okay, well, this tight end's in the game, they're most likely running the ball or they're most likely passing the ball. So I am skirting the question, but the short of it is the one that can do both pass catching and blocking effectively so that it provides problems for the defense.
I tried. I did the best I could.
Yeah.
Okay, one more. I'm going to double down, and then I'll let you go. Yeah. How do you feel about double tight ends and the fact that then the left tackle typically isn't on an island against the best pass rusher?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you go back to, the one that sticks out is a 2021 championship game against Oregon. They had the Kayvon Thibodeau kid. We had a lot of, whether they were on the line or in the wing, where those guys would chip. We call it nudge, but they would hit the defensive end before they go out. So certainly when we go against elite pass rushers, we do have we make a concerted effort in passing situations, third down, red zone where we're expecting pressure, where we can give that tackle some help if possible, and we've done it in the past.
There's Utah offensive line coach Jim Harding. Coming up later, we're going to hear from the Cougars. Day one of camp, you'll hear from the quarterbacks. You're going to hear from Kalani, Sitake, Ben Bywater. It's all on the way. And Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, is next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Time to welcome Pablo Mastroeni back to the show, RSL head coach. Pablo, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
PK just spent the previous commercial break telling me how much better St. George is because it cools down to 70 and Phoenix cools down to 98. So just in case you were wondering.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd say cools down.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like that at all.
It's not. My point was you can get out in the mornings
yes,
and play some golf because it's not as blazing hot because it does get cooler in the overnight, so it takes a little longer to warm up than by 8:39 in the desert. It's already warm.
It's actually impossible to golf in the summertime in Arizona. I mean, right, they have the carts, they have ice, they have those fans on, they have the towels, they have everything to get people out there. It's insane.
Yeah, they have emergency personnel standing by, too.
Ice baths at every tee.
It's funny.
No time for golf now, Pablo, because you got a game with Atlas Thursday night. It's your first game in the League's Cup because you had the bye through the first round of action there in group play. When you play a team from Mexico, how much do you know? I mean, there are players moving back and forth. The games are on TV, so maybe you've had a chance to collect a lot of video and watch them play. How much do you know, and how much of this is we're just going to focus on us? We really don't know these guys.
Yeah, it's more the latter. We're going to focus more on us. Obviously, I think they have 4 games in their own league, so they just started up the second part of their season. So again, we have those games, but we saw the Houston game, and Houston play a lot like we do. So some really good video, and really the takeaway from that is that they're a very dynamic, moving team. In other words, a lot of teams play positionally. These guys are constantly changing positions on both sides of the ball, and which makes it very difficult. And so then it makes more sense to stay to what we do and play within our principles, so that defensively, if they're attacking and their shape starts to change, we have our principles when we defend against a 3-back, when we defend 4-back, and they do that pretty fluidly. So we have to be very attentive on both sides of the ball, But again, I think they're number 2 in the Mexican League at the moment in the short run of games that they've had. So they're a really good team. So it'll be a great challenge for us to play both a Mexican opponent and one that's doing really well at the moment.
A few games back, Chicho went out, and I thought that the offense suffered, and obviously he hasn't been playing of late. And I think the offense has been a little bit better than I expected, for whatever that's worth. How about you?
Yeah, no, I think it's a no-brainer when you lose the Golden Boot winner at the moment. You're gonna it's gonna look a little different. He's a big void to fill, both on the field, off the field, and in the locker room. I think his leadership has been amazing this year, and along with scoring goals. So there's always going to be a void. I think in the Colorado game, Andres did a good job filling that, and he continues on. To have a breakthrough season for us. But I think the biggest concern in the last few games has been the way we've been conceding goals. And so that's been an area of focus in these last 11 days in preparation for the Silas game.
What has the problem been? Why so many goals? Because early in the season, defensively, you're lights out. I mean, you're really good, but there has been a run of probably more than half a dozen games where there have been way more goals than you'd prefer to see allowed.
Yeah, I think it's just a collective defensive mindset. Oftentimes you want to point at the goalkeeper or the back line, but what made us really good when we were a good defensive team was everyone working really hard. The guys up front making it predictable for the guys in the middle and the guys in the back. And, I think it's natural, DJ, and in that when people start talking about how good you are from an attacking perspective, right, you got Luna having a great year, Andres, Chicho, Crooks, and these guys are all contributing to the score sheet. It's almost like you're almost waiting for the ball, and you want to make the game more transitional, right? Because you're not coming back to defend the way you were before anyone was talking about you, before you had to really prove yourself. And so I think it's a natural flow of a season, and just dealing with all the praise that's being thrown at the attacking players. And so we had a good reset, I think, these last 10 days. And so it's really as simple as, losing the ball and getting great pressure on the ball immediately so that we can hold our line higher. And then it's just a trickle down effect when the guys up front aren't dialed in defensively. It's going to trickle down all the way to the goalkeeper. And so, like I said, it's been a big area of focus, and one that I hope to see big improvements on Thursday.
In my experience, listening to coaches across all sports in post-game or during regular weekly media availability, they normally have a message that they're trying to send, and sometimes it might even be subliminally, and you've got to be able to understand what they're talking about. And I was getting from you recently about the idea of the teamwork rather than the individual. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's spot on. And I think it's, it alludes to what I said earlier as far as the guys up front, waiting for the ball and not helping out on the defensive side, and making sure that we're compact. Again, we're going to be able to score goals because we have good attacking players. But if you're conceding more than you're scoring, then you're losing games. And so then it's just a call to say, we win as a team and we lose as a team. When the team wins, everyone looks great as an individual, right? But when we lose, even the guy that scores goals is like, well, there shouldn't be any pride in being the best player on a bad team. Like that's number one in pro sports, right? Everyone plays to win. And in order to win, everyone's got to do a job that they don't like doing, right? So in the back, guys putting the guys, demanding that the guys play out of the back. It's tough, but in order for us to, stay true to our game model and the way we want to play, that's what's being asked of you. And the same with the guys up front, which is if you want to win, you got to do all the dirty work defensively as well. And I think that's what made us – that was our X factor, and that is our X factor, and that's who we are. We're a gritty team that has quality players, but what makes us – our advantage is having an extra man with our work and our defending. And the moment we lose that, then we're playing straight up, and then we just become another team. So that's been a big talking point, in the last couple of weeks. And again, it's just for me, and I tell the guys all the time, it's such natural human reaction to when people are singing your praises. It's natural, and we got to fight that, and we got to reset, and we got to be humble in our work to be able to overcome these moments.
You've got depth in some positions, goalkeeper, defensive midfielders for sure. You had it on your back four until you had just a terrible, terrible run of luck there. So that got tested a little. But in those four attacking positions, your playing rotations and your substitution patterns suggest that you really believe in five guys there. And because they've largely stayed on the field, it's looked really good and you've scored a bunch of goals. But there hasn't been depth. You went to the transfer window. You added a couple guys, one of whom I don't think we've seen yet. Can you explain to people what you added there, what that's going to look like, how that's going to play out, and how you think the team benefited from those two additions?
Yeah, so Benji Michel and Lachlan, two players that play in those attacking positions. Again, I think with the year that the front four have been having, consistency has been key. I think in those attacking positions, chemistry has a lot to do with the form that these guys are in. And in order to do that, you have to give them a lot of minutes. And so not trying to fix something that isn't broken, I think is the adage that, we're working under. But Benji Michel is an explosive player. He can play out wide where Andres Gomez plays, or he can play up front as well. And so this game tomorrow, he'll be, more than likely replacing Julio Anderson at some point out front. And so he brings a bit of depth, a bit of physicality, speed, and has scored some goals in this league. And then Lachlan is a young under 23 player who's been playing in Australia, but also had a stint in England. He's got huge aspirations for himself. He wants to play with the Aussie Roos in 2030 is his aim for the world. 2030 World Cup is his aim. And so I think. It'll be interesting to see how quickly he acclimates to our league, but he's an exciting player. He can find a pass in really tight spaces. He's got a nose for goal, and he scored the most goals that he's ever scored last year. And so I think he's kind of I put him in the same bucket as Andres Gomez when he came to us last year. Is a guy with a lot of potential, and it's just about how quickly he acclimates to our group.
You had a phrase a few weeks back where you said scanning the field, and when you said that, it really painted a picture in my mind of what you were trying to accomplish, and it looks like you were wanting guys to do that, and I view it like a point guard in basketball. A great one actually sees the play developing maybe a second or two before it actually develops. Was that what you were going for?
Yeah, that's a great question, PK. In soccer, the analogy I use with the guys is if you don't scan, then it's like having a flashlight in your hand, right? And the field is dark. So if you're scanning, you're aware of everyone that's on the other side of the field. You're aware of the guys that are up the field behind, so that when you receive the ball, you take a mental picture of what's going to happen next, right? And that's really important on offense because you can make a play as you get the ball. And anytime you see a one-touch pass that goes forward in soccer, it's because the player knows what they're going to do with it before they go. Because again, if they're not scanning and they're facing the ball, then they have no idea what's going on up the field. And so that's it's a fundamental technique that most young players should have in their locker. But it's something that I find myself always coaching at this level as well. And then that's why the best players are players that do that naturally because they have the play sticked out. And then defensively, it's really important as well, especially in the middle of the field, because there's so many players that you could potentially be marking at any one time. And so you got to get a picture of the players that are behind you, the players that are to your right, left, and obviously the players in front of you are easy. But if you have it's almost like a GPS system, and you know where everyone is. But you can only do that if you scan. Unfortunately, we don't have a GPS system that alerts us to any dangers anywhere, right? So it's a technique, and the thing is, it needs to be automated. In other words, it's not something that you can just coach once in a training session and you get it. When I was a player, I realized how important this was. And in the offseason, when I'd go on jogs, I would sit there and I'd jog, and then I'd run down the sidewalk and look to my left and just name the color of the car that was coming up. And then I go to the other side of the street to work the other side. And so you're constantly turning your neck. And what we say in soccer is if you scan every 5 seconds, you have a great idea of where you are in relationship to your teammates, and your opponents.
Kyle Beckerman went to the World Cup for a lot of reasons. But if I had to pick one memory that I have from him attacking, not screaming at referees or defending and crushing guys, but to your point, the ball would go to the right back on the far sideline from the TV cameras and from your bench, and they would play the ball to him, and apparently it'd be a blind ball, but if you watched a couple seconds before, he's scanning so he would know, he would play a ball up the field pretty much into your lap, if not that far, depending on how deep they were, maybe to midfield. And it seemed to routinely catch the defense off guard because you assume he's going to play it up the field or he's going to play, to somebody right next to him. And he's playing it up the field 20, 30, 40 yards and taking it from kind of the right channel all the way to the left sideline. And it seems like that just scrambles defenses all the time.
You're spot on. Kyle is a master of that. And the other part that you didn't mention what it does and how it affects the defense as well, because I think that's just as important, is when you get the ball off that right back and you play one first touch, obviously the player that's going to press him and try to defend him is kind of shocked by it. So the next time that same play develops, he's going to be over-correcting his run to try to block the first-time pass, and now Kyle does that spin move and then just dribbles out of it because he fakes the long one, and now he uses what he just, the one-touch pass to now spin out, and now he finds the weak side. So you're constantly – there's so many games going on in the game of soccer, both individually and as a collective. But as a midfielder, having that one touch in your arsenal opens up your dribble. And so it's like boxing. You throw the jab to land the right. And so you're constantly playing with the guy that's marking you in order to find space for yourself. And when the spaces are cagey, those one-touch passes back them up. So, that's a great example. Kyle was a master of it.
Well, I was trying to prop up DJ, and I told him when Diego Luna does something impressive, he can just scream, "That was total lunacy." Do you like it?
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
He's good at the nickname thing. We've got our substitute producer, Christian, is now Chicho, and PK and Jake were both gone last week, and I was just calling him Chicho on the air, and he totally reacts to it. He literally thinks Chicho is named, so lunacy could fall in line right behind Chicho.
I love that. Yeah.
We'll run it past Diego, see if he likes it.
Yeah, I might say that today actually in training because I'm sure in the small-sided game he's going to do something crazy. So I'll say that's lunacy.
There you go.
I like it. Let us know how that goes. We want to know how well that goes over. There will be follow-up questions. We will remember this.
I'll do that.
All right. Thanks, Pablo. Go look at Phoenix temperatures and be grateful that you're not there and you're here.
Yeah, I am blessed.
Right? Thanks, Pablo.
Take care, guys.
There's RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni. When we come back, we'll hear from the Cougars opening day of camp. That's next. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. BYU opened camp yesterday. Ben Bywater came out. He was the first person to address the media. It is the end of his Cougar football career.
Well, what's the update? What's your status?
Status is not good. It's obviously, I'm in street clothes right now. Wish I was out there with those guys, but had some tough conversations the other day where my shoulders, I'm not cleared to go, not medically cleared to go, and I won't be medically cleared to go. So looks like my days of playing BYU football are behind me, which absolutely breaks my heart. It's so sad. I worked my tail off to get back, and it just never got better. Like, I'm dealing with some nerve damage in there that just, I've had multiple surgeries. I've seen, I got a great staff here that's helped me, and I've seen the best doctors in the world. So, and I've done everything to cross every T, dot every I to get the shoulder to come back, and it didn't. So, such a bummer. It's been an emotional few days with my teammates, with my boys, man. It's hard. It's hard for sure, but these guys are going to kill it. It's exciting to see this team. Like, the brotherhood, the camaraderie is, the best I've seen in my time here. So I'm excited. Obviously so bummed, man. I'm so bummed, but hey, my best is yet ahead. I'm upward and onward. The next step for me is just getting healthy. I'm not even halfway better on my right side. Like, I got to get that nerve back. And so, the doctors that I've talked with, I've been to the Mayo Clinic. Those guys are just telling me, hey, it's a time. It's the time period for me to get back. It didn't line up with playing football this fall, right? I just didn't have the time to do it. And so, my number one goal is to get healthy. And so that's right. That's where my head's at.
What's your conversations been like with your boys? Because I know
you've
been a leader on this team. So what were those like?
Yeah, obviously, this past off season, right? There was that question in the back of my head. Like, I knew I had some nerve damage in there. I knew it was just more than a little labrum, right? And I could see it in the mirror. I could see the deterioration. So for me, I just wanted to make sure that those guys were prepped, and I wanted to build a camaraderie with those guys, and just everybody loves each other. It's a brotherhood, it's a friendship, and I really feel like that team is like I said, the best I've been around. So, man, hard, and a lot of tears were shed, but it's all love. Those are lifelong friends I have, and I'm so grateful. I'm just so grateful, man. I'm from Utah. My dream was to play BYU football, and I did that. Like, the fact that I'm here, having this combo with y'all, like, it's a dream come true. So, like, it's a blessing. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened, right?
Are you going to be coaching? What are you going to be doing this season?
Yeah, so I'm for sure going to be around. I'm not stepping into, I'm not GAing, but I'm going to be around with the boys for sure, an extra set of eyes. But, yeah, it's one of those things. It's like, what's next for me? Okay. So, figuring that out.
Does that mean you're done with football, or are you going to try and get it?
So I'm done with college football. Yes, sir. I'm trying to get healthy, and, whatever happens in the future, we'll see that. We'll go from there, but my days of playing college football are done.
Does this mean pro football as well? Are you going to try?
I'm just trying to get my shoulder healthy. So, I'm not saying it would never happen, but, as of now, I don't know if I can completely answer that, Jeremy. Yes, sir.
So talk about the guys that are going to need to fill your shoes.
Oh, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about.
Let's talk about those
Yes,
boys.
Sir. I want to talk about them. So we got that back room's, it's honestly stacked. I'm so excited. There's 12 guys in there. Harry, obviously, we saw Harrison Taggart last year. I think Isaiah Glasker, he was injured, banged up a lot last year and didn't really hit a stride. He's going to be a great. Jack Kelly, you guys have all heard the hype about Jack. As one of the biggest freaks I've seen in that weight room, and he's such a good dude, too. He should be a fan favorite off the rip. Ace Kafusi, Micah Kafusi. We have, obviously, both Moa brothers, Sione and Ice. Ice is moving back to backer, and Ice is the boy. So those two are going to be good. We got Trey. He came from UCLA. He's going to be good. I'm excited about Miles. All those boys. Lucky, that's my boy as well. So, honestly, that back room, I really feel like it's a plug and play. Every single one of those guys can go out there and compete, and Justin Enna does an amazing job. So, when you're in that room, you're forced to grow, you're forced to compete. So those guys, I'm so excited about all those guys.
Being tackler the last couple of years here, but what do you hope you're remembered for from your time in BYU?
Yeah, that's a great question. I hope I'm remembered just, I feel like I came in and I competed hard, but I did it my way. I feel like I always had some personality to my play. Always had a little personality the way I carried myself, and I never felt like I stopped being me throughout it all. So hopefully just a guy that young kids can look up to and think, hey, if Ben Bywater did it, I can do it. That's what I want young kids to look at me and think that about themselves when they see me.
Ben,
Appreciate that.
How much will you be around with the team, kind of helping coach with how much?
Yeah, I won't be as much in the day-to-day, but I'm going to be around, absolutely. I'll be at every game. I'm going to be in and out of practices, watching film with the guys. But, yeah, for me, I gotta figure out. I got to move on, right? So it's all love.
You've had to watch a lot more than you wanted to the last little bit. What does this defense need to do? What does this defense need to do to get back to BYU defense? I know not quite what you guys wanted last year, so what needs to happen? That's
a great question. I mean, we saw last year, obviously, we're kind of inconsistent. I haven't played, right, really since the 2022 year. But it really is, defense just comes down to consistency, right? Win first down, win second down, get them into a third and long, right? If we can do that, be consistent, stay healthy, I know it sounds cliche, I know it's copy and paste, but that really is. Defense is simple, right? Just do your job. And Coach Hill really is one of those guys that you cannot go wrong with him. I have said it 1,000 times, that dude is freaking fireworks, man. He does a great job, so I'm excited for those boys.
There's Ben Bywater. We loved having on the show. He's done a lot of interviews with us. We'll miss him. Good luck to him as he continues to rehab that shoulder. Head coach Kalani Sitake up next.
Any thoughts on Ben and what he's meant to the program all these years?
Yeah, I mean, Ben's been here for a long time, so we knew that this was a possibility. We were hopeful that he could get back and be ready for us to play. And I'm sure he told you guys, but it's just too risky. And as much as I would love him to play for us this year, and he would love to do that, it's just not worth the risk. He's got a future in life and possibly in football too. So the timing doesn't work out that well, and I'm just thankful that he's what he's done for us. And I mean, he's just going to transition to a different role. But you heard from the guys; they still love him. He's a big part of the team, so he's a leader, a captain for us. We're going to need him in a different way, but it's a good thing he's still working with our backers and mentoring them and bringing them along the way, because he knows this place and he's put a lot of investment here. So I think it's important to him that we have success.
He said to us, "Don't cry because I'm gone. Cry because I was here." And that kind of just epitomizes a student athlete to me. Somebody who left it all out there.
Well, and he does it for all the right reasons, and that's what you want your guys to be when you get to coach them. And so it's an honor for me to be connected to him and his family and to be his coach. And, I'm still going to be connected to him no matter what he does. So he'll be with us, though. And it's just sad that he won't be with us on the field making plays. But he had a devastating injury, and it's a hard one to come back from. And we're in a time now where we can see the risks, compared to when I played even. So I think it's important that we do what's best for him and his future, and I think he'd be willing to sacrifice all of it. But we all thought that when we were in our 20s, So I think he's going to transition and move on, and we'll see if he can still. There's still a small chance that he can still play football again. So we'll have to see how the recovery goes. But at this time, there's not going to be able to do that with him right now. But he'll transition to a different role.
Kalani, when you look at the quarterbacks, realistically, what's kind of the time frame of when you want to settle who's going to be QB1, QB2, and kind of have that figured out in camp?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not a deadline thing. It's just a feel and how we see the team's doing, So right now, I can tell you it's not going to happen this week, but and both guys did a great job. And all four quarterbacks did a great job today, but their job is to make it hard on us to make the decision, but I feel comfortable having a bunch of guys that can do it. So we'll just go with the best one. Right now, that one hasn't stood out yet, but I like that all four have done a great job today.
How many guys are getting first-team reps in quarterback?
What's that?
How many guys are getting first-team reps?
Well, we had split. You saw what we did today, so we split it to get more reps, which is going to be, it's good for for both sides, but it'll tax on you a little bit. But in order for us to get reps for everybody and to compete, we have to do that. And our guys are in pretty good shape. I mean, we went through a script of a bunch of plays, and we got done early. We did no huddle stuff, and the guys are a lot cleaner than what we've been. You can see that they've put a lot of work in the offseason, and there's not a lot of mistakes that were made. I mean, in terms of the assignments, the alignment of the assignment, the technique needs a little work, but that's because we're day one. But I like what I'm seeing from the guys, and we'll just have to keep plugging around. I mean, for day one, that's good. We just need to keep improving every day.
Have you done that before, split the team sessions up?
Yeah, but maybe not as much today. I mean, I know you guys saw the end, but I think the good part of the day was, I mean, when we went against each other, was split. And I think we'll keep doing that. We'll have to play with it a little bit and see how our legs are going. Luckily, we have a sports scientist that can tell if we're overworking them or not.
When you look at LJ Martin in the backfield, in what ways has he kind of evolved from the end of last season to the start of fall camp?
Yeah, I mean, LJ looks like he's way more comfortable, and he's a true freshman. He's getting used to everything, the locker room, college life, all of that. Now it's night and day difference. He's a leader now, and he's helping Pokai and Sione and the others, and then you bring back Hinckley, Ropati, and Miles Davison. Those guys are doing a great job. I like the running back group right now.
When it comes to a day one, just kind of overall big picture, is there a tone you like to set? Do you have boxes that you like to see checked? And if so, how many of those boxes did you check? Yeah,
my concern, I'm just going to tell you this because you asked the question, but I'm always going to look at the front and see how good we did there. It's easier for me to see today from the O-line that it was clean, a lot of the looks. I don't think Jay was doing too much on defense, but it's good that the O-line weren't making a lot of mistakes, and we were actually able to move the ball. So we'll see if they can do that against the install for tomorrow with defense. But TJ Woods has made a big difference for that front, and that's something that I was eyeballing today.
Fairly veteran unit on that O-line. What can you learn about them early on without pads on?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Connor and Caleb and Waylon and Braden. Those guys are all very comfortable. They've been through, position battles and things like that. So I think they feel really comfortable. It's getting the next guys up, and then what I like with it that they've done all summer is teaching the next guy up, and doing it themselves, not relying on our coaches to do it. So just impressed with it. We'll just see how it keeps. I look at the film, but my overall opinion is that the O-line is right where I want them to be.
What would you like to accomplish in the next 3 weeks as a team, as a whole?
Yeah, we got to be ready to roll, man. I want us to be at really good. I mean, these guys are in great shape. We obviously have to work through it and be in game shape in the next 3 weeks, but I just need to see the guys be we need to be hitting on all cylinders, and that's all three phases, and I think this is a good start to it.
Do you expect Tuakoi and Aquila to show up at all camps?
Yeah, they're getting if they're not here, they're getting their academic stuff in order. Sometimes that takes some time. We've had that happen in the past, but we're anticipating them being here.
I don't think we saw LJ out there. What's his status?
LJ was out there.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was
Okay.
practicing. No, maybe we
was
were
he in the team sessions practicing?
Yeah, but we're rotating quite a bit when with him and Miles. We want to see what Pokai and Sione and Jovessa, those guys can do. So, but yeah, he was practicing with all of them.
Has your team named captains yet, like the leadership council at all, and how important is that to have that established early?
We have a leadership council, and we have a captains that went into summer, but in terms of team captains, we'll worry about that in the next little bit. I think it's important to get to football and play football and see who the leaders are and who the guys vote that want to represent them on the coin toss and on the team. So we'll probably get to that in a week and a half or two.
What's Gary Anderson's role going to be?
Yeah, he's a consultant, and he has a connection to myself and A-Rod and Jay. So I think he's spending a lot of time with the defense and with Jay first of all, and then anytime he can consult and see what he sees as a head coach. And I mean, he's got tons of knowledge, and he also knows the O-line. So I mean, he's a guy that's came from the Ron McBride tree, so he's been around and on the offensive side of football, and he knows exactly what it should look like up front, which is I need more eyes up front, and he's been very helpful for us.
Last question. Anything else?
Are you going to scrimmage on Saturdays? We noticed that we're not going to have media availability.
Yeah, we will. I think not this Saturday, but next. I'm not sure if it's a Saturday, but it might be midweek, and then we'll scrimmage. We have on schedule. We have scrimmage on Saturday, and another scrimmage in the evening, an evening scrimmage, mock game type of deal. So the 2 major scrimmages, and then a few live work in the couple days of live work. Not the full scrimmage, but maybe 30 to 50 plays.
There's BYU head coach Kalani Sitake. Now, here's the guy who quarterbacked 5 games at the end of last season, Jake Retzlaff.
What are your expectations for this competition? What have the coaches laid out to you? What to expect between you and Gary?
To go out there and get a bunch of opportunities to play my game, honestly. They haven't expressed a specific timeline or anything like that. It's just about going out there and doing my thing and let the rest take care of itself.
What have you specifically worked on during the offseason to prepare yourself for camp?
Summer's a great time for the chemistry you get with the guys, and chemistry's not always going and throwing all day. It's going to the pool, hanging out, swimming, golfing a little bit. So the chemistry with the guys, I think it's a really tight group now, and just whether it's receivers, tight ends, running backs, O-line, and even the defensive guys, we're just all getting tighter and tighter every day, and that was the fun thing about this summer is we were working hard off the field and, relaxing even harder.
What was the biggest lessons you took from those games at the end of last season?
It's just like any game, any practice or anything. You just go back, watch the film, and try not to make the same mistake twice. That's just kind of something I live by is learn from your mistakes. The L's in the loss column are for lessons. And so learning what you can from those lessons is what makes great players great.
So when we got out here, the team session were split. You were running one, Gary was running the other. How long have you guys been doing that? Did you do it in the spring, or is that new?
That's a way we do to maximize reps.
Right.
So we can split our offense up into 2 different groups and then do 2 different groups within that. So we essentially have 4 different groups going, and so every position can get a ton of reps. And so that's we do that in the summer a lot to get a lot of reps for everybody. When we do our PRPs, that's how we do it. And so that's just kind of in business.
Since when, though, is what I'm asking.
So
you've been here?
Yeah, since I've been here, we've been doing that.
Okay.
How does day one of training camp compare to sort of where you were this time last year? I'm sure there's a lot more experience, a lot more comfort, that kind of thing, but how do the 2 kind of compare for you?
Yeah, it's a world of difference. Anybody who's played this position knows that the more years you got in an offense, the more you know, the more further you'll be along. I think I took a huge step from a year ago to today. There's definitely big improvements in my game, especially within this offense. And so I feel like I'm showcasing that more and more every day.
You feel more comfortable with
that's
the system?
That's the name of the game right there, yeah. So being yourself within the offense is what I've been able to do. I'm still running this offense. I'm not cowboying it, but I'm myself 100%. And so that's how you take that next step up. Last year is probably me just trying to get this offense ran. You know what I mean? Be somebody who can get it done. But it's you can able to find yourself, do the extra stuff, do the better stuff. The improviser stuff, the stuff that I love to do, can add that to the offense and make it even better.
What's your comfort level with the receivers at this point?
Probably 100 out of 100, if you ask me. Yeah.
What are your objectives personally through fall, and then also what do you want this offense? What does this offense need to do through fall camp?
Just kind of continue to learn and grow. The one thing I love about Jay Hill and his defense is they can throw so much at you that going against this defense is going to be the best training for us all fall camp. So these guys, the more reps they get, as a unit together in those team reps, you can only get so many every day because of wear and tear and stuff like that. And so that's the big thing for, I think, this offense and me especially, just to see all these different looks one after another. The Big 12's got some interesting defenses that are different than your old defenses back in the day. And so being able to see a bunch of different stuff from him and then just kind of get in the film and study that is going to be important for us this fall. Yeah.
Hayward said that the focus has to be running the ball better. Obviously, part of that's the quarterback run game, but also the entire run game. What needs to happen for that to happen, in this upcoming season?
I bet you right after that he said the run game is an 11-man thing, and it's everybody on the field. And so that's not just the O-line running the ball. It's not just the running back, the quarterback, the receivers. It's being a unit and doing it together. The nice thing about our offense right now is we have so many returners. From our captain up front, Connor Pay, to Cody Epps, who's been here for Chase Roberts, to even the newer guys are not new anymore, like the new receivers and Darius and Keelan. Those guys aren't new anymore. So So everybody's been in it, everybody knows it. So now it's not about, oh, what am I doing? It's, all right, how am I going to do this? And then how am I going to do it to my best ability? And so everybody's taking that next step in the run game. Coach Woods has owned that so well, and he's made big differences, and he's been incredible since he's been here day one, and even in the pass game, he's the best.
Jake, as a quarterback, is it important to have a starter named for continuity's sake, for teamwork's sake, or is that a big deal to you?
I was talking to John Beck in the offseason. He said I think every year he played here was competing for the starting job, and he was a pretty good quarterback, and they had some success in his later years. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it's good to have competition all the time, because competition at the quarterback position will breed higher levels of play and higher competition at the other positions. And so that's been awesome to see. Like, our safety position is one of the most competitive positions on the field right now. And between that and the quarterback competition, everybody's got a higher sense of urgency, higher, drive every day. And so it's been really good.
All right, there is Jake Retzlaff. We are going to take a break. Coming up next, what is trending? The headlines are on the way. Frank Dolce stops by at 8 o'clock to talk Ute football. And coming up at 9, back to BYU to hear from Kelly Poppinga. Stay with us. That's next. DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag NFL.
I love those conversations, though. I mean, it's about the details. It's about winning. It's about seeing what he sees. He's got to get on my page, but I got to get on his page, too, because he's got a whole book that I need to understand fully of skill set and ability and feel and rhythm and all the different things that he does out there. So those are good conversations. They might appear to be much more heated than they are, but there's usually a smile on our face afterwards, at least one of us.
Aaron Rodgers on his talks with Garrett Wilson. The animated conversations on social media between the Jets quarterback and wide receiver have been, and this will shock you, PK, overblown, according to both players.
Right on schedule.
Yeah, perfect. You're stunned by this development.
That's what they always say.
The NFL moving closer to replacing the old chain gang with new technology to measure the first down line, the line to gain. NFL executive Gary Brantley told the Associated Press the league will test Sony's Hawkeye technology during preseason games, but the system most likely wouldn't be ready for full implementation until next season. But it might happen earlier.
I did the old chain gang in high school.
Yeah?
The high school team. Yeah. The time an opposing coach got in my face. So you do that again. This will be the last down you coach.
Ooh.
And he backed away.
Had a kid. Former Weber State star Sua Opeta tore his ACL. He's going to miss the season after joining the Buccaneers this offseason and seeking a starting job at left guard. He had played with the Eagles for 4 years.
Yeah, he replaced Glenn Fry?
Ha-ha. The judge who presided over the class action lawsuit filed by Sunday Ticket subscribers against the NFL said the jury did not follow his instructions in determining damages. And U.S. District Judge Phil Gutierrez could order a new trial because the 8-person jury came up with its own calculations.
No, I hate rogue freaking runaway juries. They drive me nuts.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
I don't know. It's not a deadline thing. It's just a feel and how we see the team's doing, So right now, I can tell you it's not going to happen this week. And both guys did a great job. And all 4 quarterbacks did a great job today. But their job is to make it hard on us to make the decision. But I feel comfortable having a bunch of guys that can do it. We'll just go with the best one. Right now, that one hasn't stood out yet. But I like that all 4 have done a great job today.
Kalani Sitake, not naming a quarterback this week, maybe next week.
I think what they should do, the first series, have all 4 of them right there on the edge of the field. Fake here, fake there. See which one it is. Put a little drama into it.
Sprinter pose and see which one gets out of the
Yeah,
box.
and what was that show where they'd, The Real, whatever it is, and the one I'd...
To tell the truth.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, and they'd have celebrities in the pre-video age. You didn't know what a lot of famous people looked like.
Right, so they'd take it.
He discovered he invented the submarine. And
it would be so cool that they would do that. Yeah, I think the submarine guy is the one who had the thing in his mouth that allowed him to breathe.
Nice.
So then you knew that was a giveaway. Or, like The Bachelor, where they hand the rose, they fake the rose. And
Kalani's over there handing out roses.
I think it would be so appropriate. Well, eventually they're going to play in the Rose Bowl. And unlike you other people, they're going to win it.
BYU star linebacker Ben Bywater announced his college career is over. Nerve damage in his shoulder that is not responding to treatment. Got hurt in the game at Kansas last year. He left the door open to playing again if he recovers, but said he wasn't going to be cleared by BYU team doctors as he's not even 50% of the way back to full strength.
That's crazy, man.
You always hear that, any snap could be your last, and for Bywater, I think we can all see him running off the field, kind of holding that shoulder oddly, and that was it.
I think they misplayed that. I think they should have said, we'll know on Thursday.
Huh.
Each Thursday, go. Is Bywater going to play today or this week? Well, we don't know. And then find out when the linebackers. And again, you have the linebackers line up. They had a little trauma in
Kalani would have had to say, 20 doctors.
Who? What?
30 doctors. Because it was unanimous instead of uno doctor. Instead of one doctor, it'd be 20 or 30 doctors.
Well, it was unanimous.
Ben Bywater can't play.
On the other one, it was one doctor. Right. It was unanimous.
Florida State tabbed to repeat as ACC champs in the league's preseason media poll. Seminoles edged the Clemson Tigers, 81 first-place votes to 55 for Clemson. The traditional big dogs expected to be back at the top in the ACC. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
James lost it. Davis saves it. Durant shoots it. Durant scores it.
Look at him looking at the bench.
Booker looking to take advantage. And he does. Open hard for Devin Booker. Bodies flying after the play. And Book with a chance for a big-time three-point play. Durant. Bounce it. Davis. Oh! Skyscraper. Big-time flush from Davis. And a timeout from South Sudan.
Team USA rolling past South Sudan 103-84. U.S. opened up a double-digit lead in the first half, and South Sudan never got it down to single digits. Team USA rolls. Bam Adebayo comes off the bench, 18 points to lead the team. Joel Embiid did not play in this game. Tatum got the start. So they rotate. Who's the odd man out? Embiid this time. Back in action Saturday against Puerto Rico. That's the first-place team in the group against the last-place team in the group.
Embiid was load management.
Jimmer Fredette and Team USA, 3-on-3 basketball, losing again, beaten by Poland, 19-17. Jimmer missed a potential game-time two-point shot late.
I thought it went to 21.
They have a time limit on it, and nobody got to 21 in the time limit. So,
well, where do they got to go? They're in France. They got no place to go.
He was treated for an injury during the contest. Didn't talk to the media, so don't know exactly how serious it is, but the U.S. is now 0-2. They've got 2 games set today.
They can't wait for a couple more buckets?
There it is.
That's stupid. Time limit.
Jared Allen, Cavaliers
Thank God
center.
for baseball.
Jared Allen, Cavaliers center, has agreed to a 3-year, $91 million max contract extension.
Thank God for Jared Allen.
Gets the money and stays put. 91 mil. DJ and PK.
Hashtag Major League Baseball.
0-2 offering, and that's a fly ball, deep right field. It is down the right field line. If it's fair, it's gone, and it is long gone. The first Major League homer for Jackson Holliday. It's a grand slam. And the Orioles, as soon as it's a one-run game, surge forward on the first big league homer for Jackson Holliday.
0-1 pitch. Travis belts one to deep left field. That's pounded as well. They've gone back-to-back for the second time in the ball game. Olsen and d'Arnaud, a stout 1-2 punch in the fourth, and they do it again here in the eighth.
Swings in this one to left center field. On the run, Luke Raley back at the wall. It's off the wall. Here comes O'Neill around third, and the Red Sox win.
Highlights from around Major League Baseball. The Orioles, 10-4 winners over the Blue Jays. 65 wins. They just keep stacking them up. Also in there, Well, I don't know that we heard it in there. Your Arizona Diamondbacks, you were worried about after 17 games, the bats would go quiet. They eked out a 5-4 win. They're 5 games back at the Dodgers.
12 fewer runs, dude.
Yeah.
I told you they'd go quiet.
Well, 5's not exactly quiet. It's normal. Routine.
How do you know what they average?
That's about right for a Major League Baseball team. 5 runs. Clayton Kershaw, 423 regular season starts, had a strikeout in every single one of them, and that streak ended last night in an 8-1 loss to the Padres. 423 starts in a row with a strikeout. I don't know what the record is. You ever heard of that stat before?
Nope.
Yankees win again. DJ LeMahieu with a grand slam, and the Yankees beat the Phillies. A potential World Series matchup right there. Yankees win 6-5. The Bees cannot be stopped. 12 straight victories. They win in Tacoma, 10-6, the final score. 12 straight. They'll go for 13 tonight. Coverage starts at 7:50 on the Zone. Tony Parks will be on the air then, and first pitch at 8:05 as the Bees go for 13 in a row.
#RSL.
Real Salt Lake opens play in the 2024 Leagues Cup tonight. America First Field against Club Atlas from Liga MX. First kick set for 7 o'clock. Pre-match show at 6. RSL set about 10 days off here. So a chance to rest, focus. This is the last game in the suspension for Chicho. So no Chicho tonight. Anderson Julio will get the start up top. But other than that, they ought to be at full strength.
Did you know that Pablo called him Julio Anderson?
Got it backwards.
Did you notice that?
Yeah. Utah Royals, 5-1 winners over Club Tijuana in group play as in the NWSL Liga MX Femenil Summer Cup. The Royals, who had problems scoring all season, are suddenly scoring in this tournament.
Really?
Yes. 5 goals is a season high.
Reminds me of you in college.
Ha. Good one. DJ PK.
#golf.
PGA Tour doesn't usually take weeks off, PK. Usually we have some kind of tournament. Even if it's a smaller event, opposite like a major at the British Open or something like that. But they are taking it off because the top players are in Paris for the Olympics this week.
But we got the Corn Ferry here.
Yes, we do.
I used to go to that when it was down my way.
Willow Creek for years.
Utah Championship now up at
Farmington.
Up in Farmington,
yeah.
Xander Schauffele, defending gold medalist from the Tokyo Games. His play gets underway in Paris. DJ and PK.
#NHL.
The Utah Hockey Club making a little bit of news, announcing a 1-year ECHL affiliate agreement with the Allen Americans in Texas. The Americans compete in the same division as the Utah Grizzlies in the ECHL.
Well, sorry, Grizzlies, but I have a rule. I root for the Americans, and I make no apologies about it.
There it is.
Yeah.
Draw the line in the sand, or in this case, the ice.
Right. So it was going to be on top. I don't know that I can get it actually in. You know what I mean? I'd have to have a real thick Sharpie. And I don't have that. So, yeah, I root for the Americans, and I just don't apologize for it.
What is Trending is brought to you by Shamrock Plumbing. There's no job too big or too small. Get the personal touch with Shamrock Plumbing. Coming up, Frank Dolce, former Ute quarterback, is going to join us at 8 o'clock to talk Ute football. Kelly Poppinga, BYU defensive ends coach and special teams coordinator. At 9:05, PK and I talked to him at the end of practice yesterday. We'll play that conversation for you at 9 o'clock. A lot of football ahead. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, The Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
What do you bet me the Jazz team that finally gets over the hump is just lightning in a bottle and somehow it lines up and they get it randomly? John Stockton and Karl Malone are being like, are you kidding? We had to walk through fire and we lost in the end to Michael Jordan.
Like, that's absolutely the formula. You get a couple of guys who randomly out of nowhere spike, have great seasons. You make some trade before the year or at the trade deadline. It pushes you over the top and you win a title, and then they all go their separate ways, and they are not these like great Utahns. I mean, John Stockton and Karl Malone have roads named after them. They have statues.
Yeah. Part of what we love about sports, it's the hope that everybody sells, is that it is possible. It is if this lines up right for us or if that lines up right for us. But it's also frustrating to people who watch it because we all want to know what's going to happen. It's like our favorite soap opera. Like, we're dying to know. What's the plan? If I hear what's the plan with the Jazz again, I'm going to lose it.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Hot Takes or Toast is brought to you by Siegfried and Jensen with 30 years of serving Utah. Question of the morning. Gary Bohannon said he's 100% healthy after BYU's first practice. So, what is your prediction on the BYU quarterback situation? Mark, since he's coming out of fall camp in Provo, I assume the opposite is true.
Why?
It's all spin, according to Mark.
Why?
He does not say why.
Why?
I don't know why he doesn't say why.
Why?
Because he didn't tell me.
You didn't answer any of my questions.
We could try to assume why, but he does not explain.
Yeah, they spin no more than any other program spins.
Right. But spinning about injury is something that happens at this time. Yeah, I can do it. He wants to be chosen. He doesn't want to sit out. So he's going to say he's healthy. He wouldn't be the first athlete who lied to the training staff and the coaches about how he was feeling. Tried to play through something. Wouldn't be the last. Dave believes he's just taking it at face value. Dave says Gary is your starter.
Yeah, if I'm McMahon and Detmer, some of those records right now, I'm nervous.
And why would that be?
A healthy Bohannon.
Unstoppable.
Has any quarterback in BYU history led their team to a power conference championship that is not named Bohannon? I think not.
Steve says this is a classic football adage. It applies here. When you have two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. He doesn't believe in Bohannon and Retzlaff. Not buying it. Earl believes Bohannon will play the first half of the season, and when the Cougars lose too much, they're going to play quarterback number 2. And he says, my beloved Cougs are only going to win 4 games this year.
4?
4. All that preseason optimism, Earl missed out on that.
Man.
He did not stand to the preseason optimism line. 4-8. Oof.
Well, if they bother to show up for the last game or two.
Matt says, my prediction is BYU will have someone playing the quarterback spot.
You know, Matt, I guess your wife thinks you're funny.
Ha!
I've yet to meet a spouse, wife. My guy, he just had no sense of humor, man. Have you ever noticed that? Oh, he's hilarious. He just keeps me laughing. That, and we had our guy picked much lower on the draft board, but we figured, what the heck, we'll take him now.
We picked 8th. We had him ranked 12th. What the heck?
Yeah. You know, because, I mean, who knows, really? Come on, guys. They've blown the number 1 picks before. We got the number 10 pick. You expect us to get it right? We don't know. We know. We took a shot at it. We'll find out. Ready? Break.
Brian believes that if Bohannon stays healthy in August, it's his job to lose.
Wonder why that is.
Because Bohannon has played more major college football. And Retzlaff was 0-5 as a starter last year.
Ooh, he saddled another loss upon him. Man, he ended the season 0-4, but somewhere along the line you gave him another one.
That's true. It was in the middle of that game with the 5-game losing streak that Slovis got hurt. Okay, we'll go 4. Because he did redshirt, so he couldn't have played the 5th game. 0-4. And Bohannon's got experience. There you go.
You're like arguing with yourself over there.
What just happened?
Well, if you weren't on your phone, you'd know.
You entertain me.
Well, that's my goal.
In ceaseless amounts of ways that are not supposed to be.
Ha!
But that's the beauty of it.
Well, there you go.
That's your charm.
Thank you.
You just had a conversation with yourself.
Well, you were quiet over
and
there.
you got to the point. It took you a while, and I thought, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong again.
And then
now
finally,
you're right. Okay, and
is.
if
Yeah, I rallied late.
Ends to the means.
Early turnovers.
If
but hit some big shots down the stretch.
You're taking a test and you erase 2 or 3 answers and you finally circle the right one. Teacher don't know. You got it right. But, I mean, your constant just shot taking at BYU this week, it's just got to cease.
I thought it was shot taking in Utah this week. I'm really confused.
No. You said that Utah goes to UCF this year and somebody else, but I don't know if they have any other good teams going in, knowing full well the Cougars went in and are going in.
I did not know that full well.
Well, you should. You're a schedule man. You're addicted to looking up crap.
You say that, and yet I'm not. Or I would have known that.
And he defends himself. Who knew?
Just pointing out you're wrong.
And then there was another shot you took.
This is like a fencing.
He took another shot at BYU
23 years. Don't worry about it, Yuck.
I was trying to figure out. I can't remember which ones. I'll know Saturday night when I go back and listen to all the shows to see how I could do better.
Oh, is that what Saturday's for, is reviewing all 20 hours?
Yes. I take this job very seriously. Not a blow-off. This is my life. This defines who I am.
So what do you think? I think Bohannon is likely if he's healthy. I expect it would be him.
Really? Why's that?
The experience. Been there, done that in a way Retzlaff hasn't.
Can't argue that. If that's what you're going to base it on. Obviously.
We don't get to see all the practice sessions. If Bohannon's out there and he's throwing a bunch of picks, then Retzlaff will be the starter if he's not. So it's not locked down, but I would think off the experience factor, I would think Bohannon.
Retzlaff threw 0 interceptions in spring ball. 0. Not one. You cannot do better than that. He was slinging it. The defenders were flying around, and he was still slinging it. But if you're going to base it solely on experience or largely, as that's your number one form of criteria, it can't be argued that he has.
Is there something else we should base it on?
Yes, ability. I think that's the large factor, is ability. Who has the best ability right now? Not who did well in 2022.
In your conversations with the people you love dearly on every football staff that we cover, anyone giving you a little heads up on who has the better ability? Or were all the conversations about health in the spring when we were having them?
Well, my conversations have since been as recent as yesterday. So spring ball
is in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Where is it now?
Let me go back. Just babble on like I wasn't here, like you do with your 42-minute what is trending thing when I'm out.
Yeah, give me some baseball highlights.
Retzlaff, I think the public statement is that, it was close, but I don't think it was. We're talking spring ball now. So with right now, they got that acclimation period. What's it take, 3 days or something, whatever it is, and they gradually build up to full uniform. Not that the quarterbacks will ever be in full contact. They don't do that. Nobody does that in any form of practicing anymore. But the way I look at it right now, the rest of this week is just an extension of spring ball, right? And then when they get the pads and they do all that stuff,
it gets real.
Then it's the start of training camp. So with that in mind, I've got Retzlaff as the guy right now. And largely because of Bohannon's inability to do things based on the shoulder injury, Retzlaff lapped him.
Right.
Right.
So do you believe that Bohannon's 100% when he says he's 100%?
I have no idea.
Because he clearly wasn't in the spring.
I have no
idea. And that created a lot of separation.
But see, they anticipated that. It wasn't like, oh, wow, why take this kid? So it was in their minds that he was going to get there, learn about what they're trying to do, try to soak it up and all that. And by accounts from those folks, he's a smart enough kid. That's not an issue. He'll be able to have that as much as somebody who's been in the program for this short of a time would have it. So he'll be able to go out there and do his thing. And I still think that it'll be Retzlaff. But I'm telling you, man, they're going to utilize Retzlaff's legs. So
he's going to take hits.
They're not going to have any caution. They're not going to protect. The last couple of years, they've had to protect. And they're not going to do that now. They're not worried about protecting. If the play calls for somebody to do something from the quarterback position, so be it. It's like you heard Ludwig on Monday basically say, we're going to protect Rising. You know, that is a part of the game plan to not give him the type of exposure that could cause anything. And you never know. Things happen. The best laid plans can go awry. This is a violent sport, and it's as violent as it's ever been.
But he made it clear that they're going to limit the number of times Cam gets hit.
And I don't think they're going to do that here for the Cougs. If they want to run whatever play they want to run.
QB run game, bring it on.
And also, you know, if he sees a lane,
take off and
take off, go. They're encouraging that. So that could lead it. But I think, to me, unless there's a drastic change in 3 weeks, and I just don't know that there's enough time that could be the case, that Retzlaff will be the guy at the start. But Bohannon, somewhere along the line, for whatever reason it might be, he's going to have an opportunity. And he's going to continue to get healthier. He says he's 100%. I don't know. I don't know what his pain tolerance was. I know they knew that, and he knew, everyone knew that he wasn't capable of doing some stuff. So I can't really see that. I just don't know that. And plus, even if I saw him, I don't remember him before. You know, I know he led the team, Baylor, to a really good record, but I don't remember that out he threw from hash to hash. Right. You know what I mean? So I don't really have anything to judge it on. They do, but I don't. So I can only go on word of mouth right now rather than visually watching him. Like you can see that Notre Dame game down in Vegas. The Cougs come out, and Hall throws a pass that was awful, and it was intercepted. I want to say it was the first play from scrimmage for the Cougars.
It was.
And you're looking at it like, what's that duck? Well, if you know the background of what they've got going on there, and they don't have anybody else, their guy Romney took off. They thought he was going to stay, blah, 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 and that created a bunch of ill will and all that stuff, but that's over now. Well, if you knew the backstory, you understood why, right? And so that type of information with Bohannon and what he was able to do before and what he can do now, I can only judge on what he can do now. And hopefully for him, when he says he's 100%, that's great. But he's probably not going to come out and make a public statement, man, I'm about 80, 85.
Yeah.
You know, that basically eliminates the competition. In fact, if that's the case, you might even move him down a peg and start to get Bourget ready to go. Or Mort ready to go.
80% of Bohannon not good enough.
No, not.
So someone else has got to back up Retzlaff, who's going to be running and taking hits.
Yeah, and 80% of Hall wasn't good enough, but it was no choice. You see, you see the difference.
Yeah, 80 because they didn't have a backup, because they got caught short, because Romney left unexpectedly.
Yeah.
80% of Hall was still better than 100% of anybody else they had on the roster.
Well, yeah, they had no confidence in anybody else. And we know the guy's name. I don't want to just keep piling on him. But that's the way it was here. That won't be the case now. So I think they're dealing from a position of strength right now. And you can go, wow, they don't have, they had two, they don't have one, blah, 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 blah. Well, sometimes that's going to happen in college ball with the turnover. And now, even in the old days, which was just a few years ago, that could happen. Right? I mean, they had to have, who was the kid? Stewart is out of eligibility, but he had spring ball eligibility, and they asked him to play spring ball.
Because we don't have any quarterbacks.
Knowing that he couldn't even play the following season. That was crazy, right? So that stuff in college, you can see where occasionally that happens. You do everything possible to avoid it from happening, but quarterbacks were transferring. Now, you might see it even more. Maybe you won't see it more because they can then go right back to the transfer portal, where before you had to convince a kid, come here and sit out a year, and maybe that was just too much. But I can see it happening. Utah's going to have it next year. If everything goes according to plan, they're going to have an inexperienced quarterback next year. And they're going to have a quarterback derby. So they wouldn't have any? You're going to have that. It's almost like a guarantee that that's the way it's going to be. That somebody plays 2 or 3 years, and then you have an open deal. Max Hall played for 3 years, was the winningest quarterback they had, right? 30-some wins. Well, in the following year, he's going to take off, and then you're going to have a quarterback competition. I think it's when you get into the season, if you're not sold on one, then it becomes that cliche, if you have two, you have none. But not now.
So now we're trying to figure out if Bohannon's telling the truth when he says he's at 100%. He wasn't 100% in the spring. That's not good enough. Retzlaff's the guy. If he's not 100% now, Retzlaff's the guy. If he is 100%, then maybe it gets interesting. Or maybe he's just the guy. But maybe there's a package for Retzlaff because he's scrappy and he can run, and you got 2 quarterbacks who you have some level of competence in. And everybody loves to run the quarterback.
Yeah, I think they got more than 2, but I think you're sleeping on Bourget.
In the long run, there's a lot of high hopes for him. You really think he could play in September?
This year?
Yeah.
No.
Right. Could he? He's not going to get that many snaps if he's not ready to go. And I guess unless they have an injury, then
but you saw what they were doing yesterday. We literally saw it. They split it up.
Right.
So they had one on one side of the field and the other on the other. I was trying to remember, did I ever see that? And I can't remember. I've been covering.
Can't remember everything, but if it did happen, it didn't happen very often.
Jay Hill implemented it at BYU last fall camp.
They were trying to get everybody more
Split
reps.
Squad is what we like to call it.
Trying to get everybody more reps.
But I think there was more from the offensive perspective.
It was
than the defensive perspective. So everything is filmed. They got those eyes in the sky at multiple places on the practice field. Everything is filmed, and they will review it as recently as last night and today, blah, blah, blah. And they'll go into it, and they'll have everything will be dissected, and it will be recorded and in the annals of history upon the records of the BYU football team. And they'll do it again today, and so forth and so on. And I don't know that they can wait too long. Man, to me, it's got to be 2 weeks. You got to have 2 weeks from now, you got to have something.
Back to Devon Vele, the receivers need to know who the quarterback is and get a lot of reps with him and develop that familiarity.
I suppose given the fact that it's not a big-time opener, maybe they can fudge that a little bit if they wanted to go close to game week. But the thing that they do in game week is that it seems like every team does it too. Once they get 15 practices in, 16, 17, they start calling it game week way earlier. It's like, well, wait a second. It's not game week. But they call it fall camp has closed. Like they bring down curtains. Utah loves to do that. Fall camp is officially closed. And what that means is then they have scout team and they split it up. And it is different from the training camp, but it's not like in 5 days you're going to play. Usually it's longer than that. It's 8-9 days because they're so eager to get out of fall camp. They've been doing the same thing now for X amount of days, and they're ready to go. So I think that's what will happen. So if it's at the conclusion of what they call fall camp, which is so stupid, I don't know why they call it fall camp, but anyway, I call it training camp. At the conclusion of that, there'll be more than just a handful of practices to go. So it'll take care of itself. And for BYU, they'll have the slip and slide, and away they go. Fall camp is over. Another year has gone by.
They had the slip and slide before fall camp even began this year. They went to the water park on Tuesday.
What a team-building activity. What water parks, man? Most of the water parks are closed now.
A lot of them have closed.
The old Seven Peaks is reopened now.
It's reopened?
That's where they went. It's called Splash Summit or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So they got it out of the way early, even before camp started.
I was at that once. It was one of the grossest things I'd ever seen. A guy having a slice of pizza walking into the men's room.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not good.
I know.
A public restroom in a water park.
Yeah.
I don't know that any restroom would be good, but there's levels, and that's even worse. Ugh.
Yeah. Like maybe a Twinkie, but not a piece of pizza.
No.
And I watched him walk right in there. I thought, ooh, that's disgusting. Finish it and then go in. Because then if you're doing what you're supposed to do in there, are you eating simultaneously? It gets even grosser.
All right, break time.
Stop.
I'm horrified.
We're done.
When we come back,
you know what I mean?
New topic. Jimmer Fredette, 0-2. What's going wrong? We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Ike Larson, safety for the Utah State Aggies.
I'm so impressed you stayed committed when Blake Anderson was still in place and came out of season and going into spring, and then got an opportunity to go in the portal, and you stayed committed to this staff as it remains. What has kept you in place through this?
I think just the trust and, the family that I built with Utah State and the new coaches. Coach Johnny, for example, he's been here, 4-6 months, and, our relationship is already great. Me and Coach A's relationship was like none other. I mean, I'll go over to his house if he needed anything, and he'll come to my house if he needed anything. So, it's hard, but I think that's what helps me at the end of the day is, having coaches that trust me and I trust them, that I know will put me out there when the game's on the line.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Not to speculate or anything, but Jimmer was out there. He's getting worked on a little bit. I mean, when one of your guys is dealing with injury, maybe not full 100%, how does that affect the team?
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you're this game is hard to play with three, and that's not something I'm really concerned about. I haven't caught up with Jimmer yet, but I'm sure he's fine. He's a warrior, and he wants to be out here and win. So, I'm not too concerned about that just yet. But, it's you just got to find different ways to win. I mean, I've played over 300 3x3 games and probably won a different way every single one. So it's just more of the same, more of that.
The band of the day today is Def Leppard. Lead singer Joe Elliott is 65 today. It's brought to you by Live Nation. For all of the live concerts and events in 2024, check out livenation.com. Jimmer Fredette not meeting with the media after the loss. Poland beats them 19-17. The U.S. 3-on-3 team is 0-2. Jimmer's team is 0-2 in the Olympics. What is wrong?
Well, they need to make changes, man. If I'm the coach, I'm extremely nervous about getting replaced.
Tyler says he's not a Ute. That's the problem.
He's a warrior. We just heard it. Who was that guy?
Kareem Maddox.
Gary Maddox?
Gary Maddox, yes. Kareem Maddox, also known as.
Gary Maddox roams center field for the San Pedro High Pirates.
Famous Maddoxes. Go. Gary, Greg, Kareem. Are we done?
Elliott.
Maddox Steakhouse up in Perry.
Ryan says there's no magic. They must not be living right on and off the field.
Man, I should have patented that right then and there.
Could have made some money, like Pat Riley with the 3-peat.
Never won an award. Jeez, what do I got to do?
Martin says the ball's not going in the hoop. Thank you, Jim Boylan. Katie Haas. All 4 of them are too small. They need more height. Earl, they don't have enough height. Simple. Donnie, size. All the other teams are taller, and they're scoring points inside. U.S. plays poor defense, and they can't give up free points in 3-on-3 basketball.
Well, then shoot the two-pointer. I mean, gosh, how many losses do you need before you're done? You guys are my Olympic guys. You live and die this stuff. So what's the format? They're 0-2.
They're 0-2. They play 6 games. They might already be done. One more loss, and I think the medal hopes are toast at that point.
Not even the bronze? Oh, crap.
Maybe at 4-2 they can get some tiebreakers and get in.
Maybe? So they got to go undefeated now?
I would think so, yeah.
Yikes, man. I mean, height, I thought we got away from height. Now we're back in height? We need height?
Chris says they should have NBA guys playing. There's plenty of good players that are not on the regular team that would be way better in this 3-on-3 game.
Like who?
Anybody who's not on the team, I guess. You could run through some all-stars, whoever you like. Who do you like?
It's got to be all-stars? You just said regular NBA players.
Donovan Mitchell.
I mean, shockingly, Micah Potter is not on this team.
I'm stunned.
Well, could they have been, though?
I don't know. I don't know how the whole eligibility thing works. I suppose at some point they could have pivoted to that. I've read that.
It's the qualifying stuff. Were they available? Not are they eligible? These are the Olympics. Anybody's eligible.
Yeah, I don't know. Can someone else qualify and then you change the roster? I mean, you can in other sports, but I don't know what the rules are for 3-on-3. No. In other sports, you can qualify and then change the roster.
It can't be done. These are literally the best 3-on-3 players in the country. Unless, I mean, if they put Brett Yormark in because he's got experience taking teams to Rucker Park, and they could have gained that. I'm not sure why. I mean, Krzyzewski coached Duke and coached the Olympics. Why can't Yormark run the 3-on-3 and run the Big 12?
The Olympics need someone like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, don't throw our guy Fran Fraschilla to the Wolves yet.
Well, they're 0-2. Fran's got to wear it. Is he coming on? He was going to, but now.
We've been working on it.
No, they're 0-2 now.
He's probably less inclined now, yeah.
What are you going to come on and say?
I don't want to talk about that.
Is he the GM? Is he the president?
What's his title,
He's kind of a mixture of all that. He's coaching a little bit. He's obviously
a man of many hats.
He helped recruit Jimmer to play for this team.
I thought he just bought him lunch.
Well, that was part of it.
That's all it took? I got to admit, I have never heard of Kareem Maddox or Dylan Travis. And the only reason why I heard of Barry is because he's Rick Barry's son and the half-brother of the other guys who played in the NBA. Brent, John, and who's the other one? Scooter?
Yeah.
And obviously Brent and John played a long time. And you had a brush with John the other day.
I did. Down in Southern California on vacation, sitting there eating, looked up. Who's that tall guy at the counter ordering? Turns, walks out. He's got a hat on, but yeah. I said, hey, I think that's one of the Barrys. And I texted you, and you said, well, yeah, he lives down there. He's got a place. You've run into him on the sand.
I've run him in multiple places, yeah. And his brother, Brent. I've run into both of them there. Right. Was that cooler than us running into Vince Vaughn and getting our picture with Vince Vaughn?
Oh, getting the picture takes it to another level.
Which I reluctantly did. But my friends, I'm going to talk to Vince Vaughn. He's just sitting right there.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, jeez. You know, me being a big-time celebrity myself.
Yeah, you wouldn't want people to do that to you, so you don't want to do it to them.
I was a little hesitant.
Little golden rule stuff.
Squeamish here. Yeah. But he was done eating and then had our picture taken.
Received you warmly.
Vince Vaughn?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Stunningly warm. He was the opposite of John Stockton in the concierge room in San Francisco. When we ran into him.
Polar opposite.
Yes. No, Vince Vaughn, he just rolled out the welcome mat for he's probably about as big time as you can get.
He had an awesome run there. Made a bunch of popular movies.
Yeah, for sure. So were there other players that they could have gotten that could have been better? Well, right now it looks like. But I don't know how that went into it and what they were thinking.
I thought someone did an interview with Jimmer, and he said something along the lines of, this is the last time it'll be like that. They're going to find a way to work NBA guys in the future.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I saw some interview about that a few
Well, then it would be the only time,
ago.
not the last time.
Well, they didn't qualify last time, so.
Hence, it'd be the only time.
Yeah. I don't know who they used for that team, but not NBA guys.
Yeah. And do we really need a 3-on-3 Olympic team anyway?
No.
We don't?
Yeah, I got along just fine in the Olympics without it, but here it is now, so we might as well win it.
But if that's your attitude, then do we really need an Olympic handball team or whatever? We can get along fine just without it. I mean, BYU and Utah didn't play. The world didn't end. We can get along fine just without it. But if we're going to have one, you play to win. I agree. And when I did my bets, when I was down for Big 12 Media Days in Vegas, and I did my bets on the Olympics, I did not have us losing to Poland.
Wow, that 10 large, man.
Yeah, right.
This is all a lie.
You saw me. I texted you of me being in the sports book.
Well, that was because you were sitting next to quite the character.
Yeah, I have photographical evidence of me being in the sports book.
Photographical evidence?
Yes. Or is it photographical?
I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I think you just went down there to watch.
Apocryphal. Come on, let's just work our way down.
I think you just went down there to watch games and you don't really care about the rest of it.
I did. The Jazz were in a summer league. And I went over to the Orleans, where one time Scotty used to have some kind of connection there. And so I was doing the show right outside the sports book.
Uh-huh.
And security is surrounding me. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
Like, guys, I'm doing a radio show here. They had to get the PR guy who, of course, approved it. I wasn't just going to show up with my equipment and plug in.
Right.
Everything was set. But it was out in the open. I've done it in many different places there. I used to do it in the Mandalay Bay, and they had a little studio right.
Yeah, I thought we saw you were in a studio. I didn't know you were out there.
No, this was literally out in the open.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't get that part.
Yeah, no, this was literally out in the open. And when I walked by that night, I had some fond memories of security literally surrounding me. I mean, these guys could get a job with Secret Service now, and yeah, I couldn't see past them, and they're like poking at me while I'm doing the show. But then other times there was a little radio booth in the Mandalay Bay, and I used to have to drive over there. And that was always entertaining because it would be like 5 o'clock in the morning, Vegas time, and I'm walking in, and the people I see, they haven't been to bed yet.
Oof.
And some of them, they look like they hadn't been to bed yet.
Beaten down.
Yes, overnight. I couldn't imagine staying up all night doing that stuff.
DJ and PK, when we come back, Frank Dolce joins us, former Utah quarterback. We'll talk Ute football, and coming up at 9 o'clock, BYU assistant coach Kelly Poppinga. Stay with us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK brought to you in part by Lumen Technologies. Your life moves fast. Quantum Fiber Internet is faster. Move up to tomorrow's speed today. Go to quantumfiber.com. That's quantumfiber.com. DJ and PK, we're joined once again by Frank Dolce, former Utah quarterback, longtime broadcaster. Frank, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How have you been? It's been too long.
It has been a minute here. I was curious if you are excited about the debut of football season, or come on, man, it's you got to have 1 or 2 more trips to the beach before we get to fall and play football.
No, I'm definitely ready for football season. The minute football season ends, then I'm ready for football season. So So, hey, by the way, Smitty, who's with me today, and you can probably hear him in the background, wanted me to say hello to both of you. So there you go. Hello from Smitty.
What time's your time?
What do you mean, what time's our time? We're on the fourth hole.
Oh.
7 a.m. was your time then. Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Oh, I can't believe I didn't make that putt. Okay. Here we go.
Same with Rory.
Yeah.
It happens. What are you going to do?
Oh, man. Has that been so interesting to watch, how Rory can't finish a tournament anymore? Like, that guy was so dominant, but all of a sudden he gets in a position to win and then just collapses. So very super interesting to watch how he's progressed through the years.
I would agree with that. We'll see what happens. He's still got time, but he's got to get pushed through and get himself another major. He can't be a phenom in his 20s and sort of disappear in his 30s from that perspective. But I think he'll get it.
Let me ask you this, PK. You're a golfer. I mean, you're a good golfer. How important do you think Rory's caddy is in all of this?
I think it's important until the moment he takes his takeaway, if that makes sense. Once he starts his takeaway,
I got the bingo and the bongo.
Then it's on him, and he's got to do it.
Got it.
And
yeah,
so,
that makes sense.
Up until then, I think he can work with him, get him in a positive frame. You can do this because Schauffele talked about that. When he was in the British thing, is that because he'd already won what did he win, the PGA a couple of months earlier, and so he was saying about how he was playing in tough conditions over there, and he was talking about how his caddy was saying, hey, this is something that you can do. You've done this before. This is no big deal, blah, blah, blah. So from the psychological aspect, he can get himself prepared with the help of the caddy and the other thing that the caddies can use. But I think once you start to take away, then it's all you.
Yeah.
It's similar to baseball when you get in the batter's box. You know, you've got all this coaching and videos and all the latest possible stuff you can have. But once you step in there and the other guy starts his wind-up, it basically is a one-on-one at that point.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, we'll segue that into the Utes in the first year in the new Big 12 and how they're going to. I'm not sure I am buying into the hype of this football team yet. I think there's a couple question marks, especially on the offensive side, that it's going to take a few games, I think, to answer those questions. Super excited about the defensive unit. I mean, they're like 8 deep on the defensive line, really good linebackers, athletic defensive secondary. But Cam Rising, if Cam Rising is healthy, that's an obviously enormous positive. But that's a huge concern for me, whether or not he stays healthy. I think the second, I don't know. I don't know if it's more of a concern or not. I don't know that Utah has the Utah running game that we're used to. And so that to me, I'm really interested to see how that unfolds.
Okay, so what percentage of a run game, to go back to your golf analogy here, what percent is the caddy and what percent's the player? The run game, what percent's the O-line and what percent's the running back?
Well, I would say it's more significant for the O-line because an O-line could make up for an average running back. So I think an O-line is more significant. But Utah plays that style where the running back is like if we go back to the Zach Moss days, I mean, there's a guy that could break a tackle at the line of scrimmage and then pick up 4 or 5 or 6 yards. And that's been when Utah's been good, that's how they run the football. The difficulty is I don't think they have that guy that breaks a tackle at the line of scrimmage and picks up 5 or 6 yards and punishes a defense to the point where in the fourth quarter, they just don't want to tackle him anymore. And so I think they have a couple decent guys in the backfield right now, but I don't see a guy there right now that can carry the ball 20 or 25 times a game and relieve any of that pressure from Cam Rising having to carry the ball. So that's to me, those two pieces are that's significant to the success of Utah offensively this year. And so those are the two pieces I have the biggest question marks about.
I think that all that is legitimate. I think that you look at the guys at the top of the most experienced, Glover and Bernard, they're nice players, but I don't think they're the caliber of the player that we have been used to for so many years, dating back to when I first got here. Ron McBride always had, and it continued, and obviously Urban in his short time had it, and Kyle has had a bunch, and you bring up Zach Moss as the latest. But I saw if it's going to happen, which I think it can, it's going to have to happen from some guys, like a guy like a Mitchell who hasn't made his mark yet, but his time is right here. And so that's where I'm going to have the faith, knowing that, hey, they usually get somebody like that, and sometimes it's somebody that we don't really see going into the season. And I think it's maybe somebody like a Mitchell kid that I'm looking at to have a little bit of a breakout season.
Well, I'm really looking at Mitchell as well. Like I think he's the guy that has the potential to be the hammer in the backfield for Utah this year. And if he comes through and Cam Rising stays healthy, like then you're talking about a really quality football team. Defensively, I think they'll keep themselves in games. So that's a huge plus. But whether or not they can be more dominant on the offensive side with the running game and with Cam's help, I don't know. That's my concern. Obviously, that's my concern. I've said it 7 times.
This wouldn't be a preseason University of Utah football conversation unless someone said, is this the year the wide receivers become a very important, productive part of the team? So I'll be the one to say, is this the year that the wide receivers become a very important and productive part of the team? Is Dorian Singer going to make a difference, or somebody else? What do you think?
I like the athleticism of this receiving group. I love Singer. I think he has a real chance with which should be a strong tight end group back for Utah. Like there's in the passing game, I think there's really good opportunity that fits well with what Cam Rising can do. So I would say there's going to be, a lot more reliance on the tight end group, and then picking your spots with the wide receiver crew and a group that's able to stretch and pressure a defensive secondary. So I'm pretty optimistic about those two groups combined, the tight end group and the wide receiver group. And I'll say with that, maybe the ability from the wide receiver group to have a real playmaker in there. So I think that's like that to me going into this football season. I'm pretty high on that. I would say on that group combined, tight end, wide receiver group.
Yeah, if you combine them, Frank, I would agree, because I think I can make an argument that, they haven't had a breakout receiver in a good while, but this year they might need the least amount of breakout receivers and still have success, because the tight end position is just absolutely stacked. There's no doubt about it, with Keithy coming back and I can go through the list, and I think King showed enough last year that you can move him around, and Andy Ludwig will be creative with him. And plus you got Bernard, who's really, really good at coming out. You can put him in the slot. You can throw him out of the backfield, and he can do some big-time damage. He might be even more potent as a receiver than simply running the ball or doing stuff that gets him out as opposed to, running into the line of scrimmage and looking to break tackles, but getting him out there where he can use his agility. So they've got weapons. If you combine them all, not necessarily highlighting an individual position, except for tight end, you can highlight that. But if you combine all the pass catchers, which obviously includes running back, I think that they have an opportunity to be really good there with the fact that you've got a 25-year-old, 7-year veteran, Cam Rising, who's been with Andy Ludwig for 6 years. You put all that in the same pot, and it has an opportunity to be a really good offense.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's great potential for that offense. But those, a couple of those things have to fall into place. And by the way, I appreciate that you mentioned the ability of Utah with the current setup to catch the ball out of the backfield, to be a threat out of the backfield. So when you combine that, if let's just say optimistically, if Utah identifies the 20-25 carry a game back and has great tight end play and has a wide receiver group that can stretch the field and make some plays and put in there then Cam Rising's ability to escape pressure and potentially use his legs as a weapon and catching the ball out of the backfield. You put all of those things together, that is a lot for any opposing defense to manage. And so optimistically that you look at that offense and you say that, this is an offense that could probably score 30, 35 points a game. And if you can do that with Utah's defense that I think is going to show up, you're going to be in a really good spot to battle for the top of that conference. And so, but it's like we were talking about, just all those things have to come into play, have to fall into place. And I just don't know if we're going to know that after game 1 or game 2. I mean, I think it's going to be a few games in when we decide, oh yeah, this is how it's going to be this year. And by the way, we've all been around Utah football long enough to know that Coach Whittingham and that crew, they typically go a few games deep into the season before they settle on, this is our running back, this is how we're going to, this is our game plan, this is how we're going to line it up, this is how we're going to attack a defense. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're still, week 3 in the season saying, who's going to be the guy this week? Who's going to carry the ball this week? Who's going to be the guy out of the backfield this week? I fully expect that to be the case.
Let's go back to the defense, which I get what you think. There's a lot of good players there. There are a lot of good players. But are there stars and difference makers at the top? Because obviously they had a second-round draft pick in Bishop. They had a fourth-round pick in Vaki. They had stars at the top. Are they going to have that this year? And if so, who do you think they are?
Yeah, well, clearly Barton is a star at the top. And I think you could go across that defensive line and say, well, there's probably two, maybe 3 guys who have shown that potential with play in the past last year, and that's going to get magnified this year. Like, they should improve even more this year. So, and to me, like, Utah's foundation has just been built. It's no secret at the defensive line. So if you have those guys up front, then everybody else has an opportunity to be a star. I guess if I'm looking across that defense, I think defensive line, there's probably 2 or 3 guys. And then you put Barton in there, and that's part of your front 7. So there's 4 guys in your front 7. Going past that, I think there's probably not a guy I would name as a star. I would just say there's good potential in those guys. And even going through the defensive secondary, I think that's a really solid group. And I guess I'd say I'm hopeful that somebody will emerge as a star, as you say, a star at the top in that group behind the front seven.
My biggest concern is who's going to be the backup quarterback, because you may need him this season, and most likely whoever it is has a leg up on going forward into next year.
Yeah. Well, it's just, Cam Rising has not been able to complete a season healthy. So the likelihood of the backup quarterback coming into play is very high. I don't know who the backup quarterback is going to be, but it kind of feels like Wilson is going to be the backup quarterback. And to be honest, even if inside the walls they have the, Cam Rising number 1, here's our number 2, here's our number 3, I don't know if Coach Whittingham is ever going to divulge that unless something happens to Cam, and then you have to throw the second guy in there. And then we'll say, oh, he's the backup quarterback. So I'm guessing that there's going to be 2 guys considered as the backup quarterback to start the season. And then we would it's just a matter of if Utah ever gets into that scenario where they have to put a guy in. I'm always a fan of, if you have an opportunity, especially with this football team, if you have an opportunity to get a backup, a second guy or a third guy playing time early in the season, that you do that as often as you can. And so maybe, who knows, maybe Utah gets themselves in a situation where they're up on top and they can give Cam a little bit of a breather, and then we'll see who those next 2 guys are. But I agree with you, that backup quarterback spot is going to be significant. And so, let's say Utah identifies a run game and Keithy's playing well and the tight end group's playing well. You got some playmakers on the outside, and then Cam goes down. Like, which guy is going to keep that momentum? And that's a huge question mark.
I could see, to your point, that they listed 2 quarterbacks as or, so that both guys feel they're there and they don't get itchy about transferring. And then against Southern Utah, if they do open it up, I can see both guys getting a series, or both guys getting 2 series, and they try to keep it even. I totally get doing that dance. That would make sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I could see them doing that as well. And I don't know. I would say that in the past, Utah has had backup quarterbacks who've had different strengths. One more athletic ability to run the ball, be more effective with his legs. One more sit in the pocket, throw the ball downfield kind of, character. I would say that looking at this group of backup quarterbacks, that they're maybe more similar in their talents. There's not as large of a discrepancy between those guys. And so, it's just a matter of who through when fall camp gets over, and that Coach Whittingham tracks everything, who is the most efficient guy coming out of fall camp, and then you just kind of go from there. And then like you said, if you can get him a chance under the lights early in the season, both of the guys, then you say, okay, well, this is a guy we're going to roll with moving forward.
Who do you think we're going to beat in the 6A title game this year?
Who's going to be in the 6A title game?
Who are we going to beat? We know one team's going to be in there. Who are we going to beat to win another state title?
I think it's kind of an.
You want to help him out, DJ?
Isn't that an unfair question?
No.
No, see, he's got his Corner Canyon charger pom-poms on right now. His wife teaches there. He knows the coaches.
Oh,
he knows a shocking amount of what's going on in Draper. And he anticipates that Corner Canyon will be back in the final, which I know he does this shtick. But honestly, if you've watched high school football the last few years, I think Corner Canyon is going to be in the state final is not an outrageous statement.
No, that's going to.
All right, so who are we going to beat?
It the other way. I was saying, like, who, like, you're going to beat. You're going to try and beat Corner Canyon. Like, I don't know.
No. Good luck with that, Frank.
I don't know if I can pick that. Sky Ridge, who's it going to be?
Sky Ridge, Lone Peak, Lehigh. I mean, it's the usual suspects.
It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I would say, would you pick Corner Canyon or the field? That's what I'll say. Would you take Corner Canyon or the field?
PK's taking Corner Canyon.
Of course I am. I want to win.
How did you get aligned with Corner Canyon?
His wife teaches there. She's an assistant golf coach. He literally goes out there to like their region or state, meet or whatever. He didn't go early in the year when it's a dual meet and it's raining sideways. He's not that big a fan. He's not that supportive. But you get to late May, it's 62 degrees and sunny. Yeah, he's out there.
Hey, I received a 2023 hoodie that signifies the state title that Corner Canyon won, and I received it directly from the coach. So back off. I am hardcore.
So wait, the football coach?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. I'm hardcore.
Frank, I don't know how you're not aware of this, Frank. I'm a little stunned by this.
I am completely unaware. It's because PK's a mystery.
Got no history.
Wrapped in an enigma. Like, he's a mystery. And he does that by design. He doesn't want anybody to know.
There's nothing to know. Nothing worth knowing, put it that way.
Independently wealthy and...
More than you know.
I'm an independent of my political affiliation. That's it.
Well, oh my heavens. Are we going to go into that?
Nope.
Like, do we want to talk about...
You got to go.
Do we want to talk about
You got to go. Have you been hitting any... Have you hit any shots?
On the seventh hole now.
Have you hit any shots or have you just been riding here for a couple holes?
Didn't you just hear that? I just hit a 3-wood off the tee, probably 270 yards.
Oh!
That is like, I mean, I should be on the phone more often when I'm golfing because I've hit a couple shots that people in the carts are like, wait, who's this? Who's this guy?
Tells me you're too up in your own head here. You're overthinking and everything. Now that you're a little distracted, your real athletic ability shows through. You do need more of this.
It's so true. It's so true. In fact, as I was driving up here, I was listening to I was trying to get in the right mindset. And so I was listening to some, podcast about being and that's one of the things they're like, when you're playing poorly, it's probably, you're not on the tour, you're not a PGA Tour guy. And when you're an amateur and you're playing poorly, you have to think about, wait, how many swing thoughts do I have going through my head right now? How many things am I thinking about right now when I'm trying to hit the ball and I've just hit a bad ball and now I'm trying to make up for it, rather than just stepping up, being relaxed, taking a look, swing the club.
Yeah. Well, if you get a double bogey, call us back and we'll talk more football and straighten you out.
I would really appreciate that. I know it's going to go awry here at some point.
All right. Oh, that's good. Yeah, talk to Riley about that. That's exactly what you need to think. That'll help.
Go talk to Riley about mindset.
Yeah, sports psychologist. Your mindset.
I know.
It's gonna go. It's gonna go wrong here somewhere. Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
Now you're going Rory McIlroy on us. Knock it off.
I should do that. Okay, I'm lined up. I'm about 126 yards out right now.
About 126.
I'm staring down the flag streak. Let's see how this goes.
You gotta go to break here.
Oh man! Wait! Homeboy's dancing. Homeboy is dancing. I mean, you guys are magic.
I agree. Thank you, Frank.
You're the best.
All right, go
Love
make
to talk to you.
Go make that putt.
I'm going to make it.
Frank Dolce, former youth quarterback, longtime broadcaster, and occasional golfer, join us right here on The Zone. DJ and PK, Kelly Poppinga, BYU defensive ends coach and special teams coordinator, joins us at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Andrew Mason, Denver Sports, joining us here on the program.
Zach Wilson, he was the third quarterback up. He had arguably the best throw of the day of any Broncos quarterback, a nice little pass to Greg Dulcich. And then he had the worst throw of the day. He had a play that nearly got picked off. It's just on an overall basis, it just seems like he's probably in need of some kind of longer-term football rehab to kind of get back on track. Maybe Jarrett Stidham, who's in his second year in this scheme, and then Bo Nix, their first-round draft pick. I think there's some distance between those other two quarterbacks and Zach Wilson based on what I've seen.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK proud to announce our new title sponsor, our friends at Black Desert Resort. Remarkable within reach.
Oh, let me tell you.
And do tell.
It's remarkable, and it's within reach.
Beautiful, gorgeous. Other words you'd like to throw out there?
Oh, I thought you were
Dramatic.
talking about me. But yeah, it's fun. Beautiful course. Beautiful area.
Breaking news during the commercial break. And it's going to make a lot of fans shrug and other fans retch a little bit.
Retch?
Yes.
What is retch?
Throw up in your mouth.
Where else do you throw up?
Out your mouth. All right. Tell the people what happened. They're not going to like it. No, maybe they will.
Why?
Go ahead, say it. Then we'll
Gordon
discuss.
Hayward is retiring.
What? He went to Oklahoma City and then not a peep.
No, and well, his wife made a peep.
Ha!
She went after Presti, didn't she? Yeah, old Robin. Young Robin. She was such a young lady when we first met her. And she's still a young lady for that matter. I mean, Hayward just turned 34 in March. And he's done. He's done. And in the Olympic team, we got at least 3 guys that are older than him. And Curry and Durant and LeBron. Yeah, and fortunately for them, they haven't been besieged by injury that Hayward has had.
You said a lot of stuff during the break, and I just kept saying, no,
Right, because you're a downer.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think realistic is more like it, but
No,
whatever.
no, not in this case.
tell
I mean,
people.
I joked, should they retire his jersey? No. But should they bring him back in the manner of which they brought Darren Williams back? Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Why not?
He left. Leave him alone.
What, Darren Williams left?
Darren Williams got traded.
But because it's the same thing. It's
And
like
he didn't just
Donovan
leave.
Mitchell left.
He didn't just leave. He jerked him around.
Friggin' Jerry Sloan quit on Darren Williams.
Yep. I'm out.
I can argue that Darren Williams did way worse. Gordon Hayward played the system.
And jerked the Jazz around.
He played the system. It's business, man. They wouldn't have jerked him around if he didn't have as much leverage as he did.
I have no interest in seeing him come back. No interest in talking to him. I don't find him interesting. Whatever. It's over.
But you have an
He's
interest in
retired.
Darren Williams?
A little bit, yeah. I was interested
Who's
in knowing.
like the world's leading sourpuss at all times?
He does. I don't know if he's in first place, but you can see the leader from where he is. But I was interested in hearing what he thought about that time and how he viewed it then and how he viewed it now. I did find that interesting.
I agree with you.
And I get that that's negative,
Agree
but
with you.
I still had questions, and I was interested. I don't really have questions.
The man
about
evolved.
Hayward. Yeah.
And so I'm going to hold it against him because he was in his 20s and everything wasn't acted perfectly.
Right.
I'm over it. He's a human being.
Right.
He may have made a mistake or two. Who hasn't? So I've got no problem with Darren Williams. And the fact is, he still has ties to Utah and never denied those ties.
Yeah, and I found that interesting.
I agreed.
And so all these things were interesting, and I wanted to talk to Darren. I have to admit, I was surprised he came on because he had to know where the conversation was going to go, but he welcomed that, and I think you and I both find people who do that. It's easy to come on when the questions are going to be, how great are you? Why are you so great? Which, if you're on a 10-game winning streak.
A guy to ask those questions.
If you're on a 10-game win streak, those are the questions.
Yeah, like interview any Salt Lake B guy right now.
Right? How'd you turn it around? Last place in the first half of the season. First place now. 12 straight wins.
It's a long season.
You're crushing it.
But at the same time, he did spend, 8 years here?
Yeah.
And his best time as an NBA player was in our city with our team.
Right.
That's undeniable.
Yeah.
And so he went out there, and maybe he didn't do the best. He was 26 years old when he jerked them around.
Yep.
So we're expecting a 26-year-old to make all the right decisions.
And if I'm going to stick up for him, which I'm not really inclined to do, but let's just go ahead and do it. I would say that he got bad advice from older people who should have known better.
His parents?
Agent.
He credits Bartlestein big time in his. You can go on to Twitter and read his.
Bartlestein made him a lot of money.
When he says that he was there for countless phone calls into the night, blah blah blah. He names his parents, his wife, his 4 children, and his agent. He doesn't even name. Does he have a twin sister? Come on. Yeah, he jerked him around. Yeah, it was thank you, Utah, which is basically F you, Utah. I get it. Yeah, it was he tried something or he was told to do something, and it blew up in his face.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. But, I mean, they brought Adrian Dantley back.
Yeah.
And this was way before we were here.
It was way before our time, but we heard about serious
I was following
conflict.
the NBA then.
Right. But when I got here, I heard more details.
I certainly knew of Adrian Dantley as a ball player.
Absolutely.
And he got welcomed back.
Well, fans loved him. The conflict was inside the organization.
And letter carrier every year. I'm never going to wear a Jazz uniform.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. The greatest player they've ever had. It was one thing after another with him. And they got, I believe, a statue for him. And he's welcomed back. And then they have the 25 or 20-year deal of the team. He doesn't even show up.
True story.
But yet if he came back, they would still put him on the screen, blah, blah, blah. Come on.
He loved that.
Love what?
Come on.
Well, it's the truth.
Yeah.
What Gordon Hayward have did that Carmelo have not did?
Win 2 MVPs.
Well, maybe.
Lead a team to the NBA Finals. Twice.
I'm not talking about on the court specific. I'm talking about he didn't say anything about Hayward's playing ability. He said they jerked him around. He did this. He did that. Blah, blah, blah. I'm talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about on the court.
I do think he was building himself into being a good player in Utah.
There's no question.
And he went to Boston, and he immediately had the injury, and he never got anywhere near.
That's all history, man. No one's going to argue. Sun rises in the east. We understand that. That's not the issue.
So what do you want to hear from him? You want him back. I don't.
Well, relating to what others have done, they've brought players who've done similar things. Ostertag was screwing up, and he was back here a couple of weeks ago. And they bring him back anytime they want. I don't understand it. The logic here, and it's not being applied in the same way as it is for others. Do unto others as you do unto yourself. You freaking heretic.
Ha! DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Cougar football with BYU assistant coach Kelly Poppinga at the top of the hour. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
Other news coming out today from the IOC. Esports has been welcomed in.
Oh, what a joke. Stop it.
It's a skill.
I don't need to see Super Mario Brothers in the Olympics. Is supposed to be the traditional sports, Original Olympians out there throwing rocks around and stuff.
I've got a list here, courtesy of our friends at Wikipedia, for discontinued sports at the Summer Olympics.
Isn't it like baseball? Didn't they get rid of baseball, but we've got like breakdancing? I'm sorry. Anyway.
There used to be an arts competition. They got rid of bowling. We should bring bowling back.
That's better than esports.
It is better than esports. Chess at 2000 Olympics. Tug of war.
No.
Pigeon racing. You don't want pigeon racing.
No.
There was something called life-saving. I would hate to be the guy who got the bronze medal at the life-saving. What happened? The guy died?
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest. And then listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules Credit Union and Beehive Meals.
All right, we got a question up off Gordon Hayward announcing his retirement within this last hour.
Repent. Allow the man an opportunity to atone for mistakes. I can't believe what a hardliner you are.
I think you can.
I can't. I'm stunned that you wouldn't allow him the opportunity. He spent from age 20 to 26 here. Clearly had his best time. He improved his scoring average literally every year. That's hard to do.
Do you want the Jazz to bring Hayward back like they have D. Will, Ostertag, etc.?
Legitimate question.
Ben, Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious movies? Not even a little bit. David, with the gift from Bugs Bunny? No. Casey Carl Malone? No thanks.
I was wondering why he's so willing to read them. Now I know. I can sniff out a rat. You can't BS a BSer, man.
I'm not BSing anyway. I told you last segment. I don't think so. I don't find him interesting. I don't really want to. I don't.
If he came back here and said, I should have stayed here, this was a wonderful time. This is a beautiful place. I'd love to have a job with the organization, with Ryan Smith, what he's building here. There's the door. G, don't let it hit you on the AGG on the way out. That's what you would say.
Craig, no thanks.
I'm a loving, forgiving person.
Slider 22222. No, he wouldn't care anyway.
You don't know that. You're assigning someone a belief that they had at 26.
Fly the W. Never heard of this guy.
And
Who is he?
can never change. And you just said he was getting bad advice. So how much of it was on him anyway? He's a 26-year-old kid. Science will tell us his year is barely a year developed fully. Or his brain, I should say, not his year. And he was going on the advice of an agent and maybe others, and that's what he did. And the guy who stole him, you freaking welcome him and turned over the entire franchise. Gobert, you're gone. Mitchell, you're gone. Bogdanovich, you're gone. Conley, you're gone. The guy who said, leave that crap and come to our place in Boston is now running the franchise. You welcomed him. What's the difference? Yeah, you're boxed into a corner. I'm going to sit back and enjoy your squirming.
Charlie. No, he was never a Jazz guy. D. Keaton. That is not funny. Michael Myers. Austin Powers.
He's never a Jazz guy because Danny Ray
pried him away.
Yeah, and then you give I trust Danny Ray more than I trust myself. Hatback billionaire said that.
That's Ryan Smith if you can't follow along with PK's nicknames.
Everybody knows who they are. How many hatback billionaires we got in this community? It's why I wear my hat straight.
That and then not having a billion.
Well, yeah, hatback 1,000 for me, but it doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Hatback thousandaire. Yeah, it does roll off the tongue, actually.
No, it don't. Man, you've been wrong all morning. I pray for you.
I don't think you do.
I do. Are you kidding me? That one time?
Ha!
And it worked. They didn't fire you.
Thank you, PK.
I think you offer him the opportunity. Because they've done that with so many guys. And he says on his thing, you can read it, he's excited about what comes next. I mean, he's 34 years old. You got to do something.
Can't just sit around and count your money
Yeah,
forever.
I mean, he's got millions, no doubt about it. But at 34?
Drive the carpool.
Okay, but
how long is that interesting?
yeah, that's only like another 10 years anyway.
That's true. It will end.
Right.
It always does.
Right. So what is he interested in doing? I mean, I have no idea. Would he be interested in doing some management, some coaching, any number of things that you can get involved, scouting, get involved in with the game? And I would get it, man. I mean, you've been doing this your whole life, virtually, literally, and it's a competitive outlet. And, it's just Gary Anderson at BYU. He doesn't need to do that. No. He wants to do that, right? It gives him a taste of still being involved in football.
And it always comes back to the people and the relationships. I mean, he was pretty open about that. I mean, he hired most of those coaches, and he's telling us he coached a bunch of the players' dads. It's always about the people.
Yeah.
Over time, that's what it always comes down to.
And so if Hayward, and they felt like he had a skill set that they want to utilize and employ, absolutely. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what he's going to do. How does that work? Some guys go into business.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously doubt he's just going to put his feet up.
Got to do something.
Yeah, he's way too old and just play tennis the rest of his life for 5 hours a day. Yeah. He could get a job in the NBA, and there could be players older than him. And his career was, it did see, now that it's over, it certainly was the wrong move to leave. But who knows, because he flourished under guys that are no longer there. Right? So we don't know what happened. What we do know, I don't think there's any question we can say injuries really played a significant factor in his reduced production.
He was just getting to his prime, and he had a major injury, and he was never the same. So, right, yes, injury absolutely did.
Yeah, the most he ever played after he left here was 72 games, which was the year after the major injury. And then it's a bunch of 50s and 44, 49. Yeah, I mean, after that, he had 3 years in the 50s. I'm looking at it right here. And multiple years in the 40s. So he only played that one game. I think it was like 5 minutes into that first game, that gruesome ankle injury. So he's out the rest of the year, obviously. And then he comes back and plays 72, and that was it. Everything else
was a struggle.
Yeah, he never got above 52 after that. I mean, I want to feel bad for the guy. Financially, he's set beyond his wildest dreams. But basketball-wise, there's a sense there of feeling bad for him that he didn't get an opportunity to show what he could do or show what he was showing he could do. Did he peak at 26? Possibly, but you could also argue, hey, at 28, 29, he could have even been better. And then he gets in a situation where they draft two players who are as good or better at the very same position.
Crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy that it worked out that way, but they got Tatum and they got Brown, and now how do you play everybody?
Right. Yeah. And then he goes to Charlotte, which is, they've sucked.
Forever.
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Utah State opening up camp today. BYU opened it up yesterday. PK and I were there. We talked with Kelly Poppinga after practice. You will hear from the BYU assistant coach next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. BYU is open training camp. We got to talk with Kelly Poppinga, assistant coach. You remember when you first met Kelly?
Yeah.
How long ago was it?
Well, we went up and to rope some calf in Evanston.
Did not.
They're hanging out on the Poppinga family farm.
Yes. An exaggerator, if nothing else. Jason comedy.
When he was on the ball club way back when. And his brother, I think it was his brother's older, is also psycho. And I can remember Kelly telling me one time, I had to call him up, and it was an important family matter, and I had to tell him, now, Brady, just start breathing and just relax here. I loved Brady. I loved interviewing him. And Kelly's such an approachable dude. You can see why he would have success on the recruiting circle. all the time.
It's very personable.
He really is, yeah. He's so easy to communicate with and all. And you could see why he's going to be and is successful as a coach. So, I mean, it's been over – when did he play there?
06, 07.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
So
he was at Utah State in 03, 04.
Correct.
Came down to BYU.
Yeah, and Brady came. I think his other brother might have played at Utah State as a tight end, and then Brady just came directly to BYU. Talking to his parents a long time ago.
So we spoke with Kelly about this year's teams, the difference he's seen, because he coached at BYU. He was the linebackers coach 2011 and 12, and then safeties and linebackers through 15, and then he went to Virginia with Bronco. Talked to him about the changes he's seen in BYU over the time. There were a lot of different topics to hit. Here is Kelly Poppinga with PK and I. We're here with Kelly Poppinga, defensive ends coach for BYU. Literally everyone is talking about how do the Cougars put more pressure on the quarterback. Can you go to the grocery store, go to the gym, go down the street without somebody stopping you and asking you that?
I just got the same question from two other guys. So, and honestly, at the end of the day, for us last year, it was stopping the run. So I think everything correlates to stopping the run. Like, we can stop the run better, we are going to get after the quarterback better, right? Being able to control the line of scrimmage and be able to dictate when they're going to throw the ball, that's going to help us out. What happened last year, we're playing from behind a lot, not controlling the line of scrimmage, and then we can't get after the quarterback, right? And then it's a team effort too as well, where we got one guy in Tyler Batty that can get after the quarterback, and then we had some other guys that weren't as consistent, but I feel really good in Isaiah Bagna, Logan Latui, John Nelson on the inside. We got a couple new guys that we're waiting to have displayed to Cougar Nation too as well, which we're really excited about. But I just feel like it all goes back to stopping the run. And that's, I think any defensive coach will always tell you that. If we can control the line of scrimmage and dictate when they're going to throw the ball, we'll be way better.
How about just the fact that everybody is in the system now a year, Jay Hill, you, because it was new last year, the players, you with them with you. How much difference can that make?
Yeah, it's already been. I mean, you go back to spring ball and even into our winter conditioning and just the attitude our guys had from the time they came back from winter break. And went right into winter conditioning. Coach Phyllis having a whole year with these guys now, our strength coach. The mindset is completely different from a year ago. And just the understanding of the defense, like you said, is completely different. They know who we are. Mm-hmm. They know who Coach Hill is. They know how we, our personality is a little bit better. And just, we got pretty much everybody back. And, we lose Eddie Heckert and Cam Garrett and a couple other guys, but I believe we're as deep as we've ever been at DB from what I can remember at any team that I've been on at BYU. And just the talent that Coach Guilford's recruited there, I think it gives us a great shot to play as good as coverage as I think we could play. So I'm excited about that. But ultimately, I just believe we have a great group of guys, and they're just hungry, and I think they're very motivated to meet the expectations they have. They don't give a care. We don't care about the expectations outside the building. We have high expectations of the building, and now it's being able to put our actions equal to those expectations, and I think today was a good start to that.
For years, the Big 12 was spread the field, quarterbacks, a lot of high-octane offenses, and a lot of 49, 42 games. But talking to people with so many running backs coming back this year who are accomplished in the league, yeah. Is that rep outdated a little bit, you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that was the biggest surprise that we had as a team and as a coaching staff. Coming out of the Big 12 and playing those games, every team had a great running back. Every team had a great run game. And it wasn't as much throwing the ball around as everybody thought. I thought it was way more physical than it was going to be. And for those new teams coming in, I think that's one thing that they're going to be a little taken back from. It's going to be more physical than what I think most people think it is, because they got that reputation, right? Spread around, throw the ball 40, 50 times a game, these shootouts. For us, those teams were physical. And we didn't even play one of the more physical teams in Kansas State who we get at home this year. So it'll be, it's going to be a challenge, but it's going to be fun. And that's what you want. In the game of football, you want to play tough, physical football, as a defensive guy at least. And so we're excited about that challenge.
It seems as the year progressed, the team got a little bit better. Obviously, you fell short of what your goals. How much at the end, when games were close, right down to the end, overtime, whatever they may be, is buildable as far as transferring over this year, so you're not starting from scratch, you're continuing what you developed last season?
Yeah, sometimes I think you got to go through those heartaches to be able to grow and develop. And so, yeah, as close as we were last year in the Oklahoma State game, even in the Texas game, the way we competed in that game, I think it gave our guys confidence, and I think it gave them that hope and that ability that they can compete with anybody. But, yeah, at the same time, those hurt, man, because those games were games that we could have won any of those games. And so I think just getting that experience and our guys understanding what it's now going to take, I think it's brought that urgency, like I talked about before, more urgency in the offseason, the way they prepared, not just in the weight room and on the field, but in the film room, the way they've taken care of their bodies nutritionally. I've been impressed with these guys, and I think it's been great leadership from Tyler Batty, great leadership from Chase Roberts on the offense. I think we have really good veteran leaders, and whenever I've been around a great team, that's what you have. And so we have the makings for it. Now we got to put everything on the field.
There have been a lot of changes in college football in the time you've been doing this. I mean, conference realignment, TV deals, NIL, transfer portal, and we're barely scraping the surface of the changes. And you were here at BYU. You went to Virginia, saw ACC, Power 5 football. When you come back and you see the investment and the way BYU is doing things with staff, facilities, travel, everything, are you a little surprised at the leap forward the Cougars have taken in commitment over time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been from the last time I was here in 2015 to now, and even what I saw when I was in the ACC, the resources that we have here are as good as anything I've been around and anything I've heard of as well. I mean, I got friends that are coaches at USC and at Oregon and these other places, and I think the NIL at those places are maybe a little bit better, but, man, the resources we have nutritionally and in other areas is as good as anywhere in the country. And so Kalani and our boosters have done a great job stepping up. And just, man, you go to our game day atmosphere, that's as good as anywhere in the country. I don't care what anybody says, you go into that stadium, and just the things that we're doing throughout the game to create that environment, it's as good as anywhere. And so I think that's just a sign of big-time football. And when you get those resources, not just the money and the NIL to the players, but also the nutritional part and these other aspects of sleeping and just other training things that we get in the training room. Man, there's so many things. Our guys are so freaking spoiled, man. It's unbelievable the things that they get. But it's just giving them that next extra edge to help compete on the field.
When you left, I don't want to say you were critical. I would say you were honest. And we did an interview with you on the way out, and I remember you saying to us, well, that's a tough question, but I'm going to answer it honestly. And obviously you felt like it wasn't up to par where it is now. How much then, since you've had that for a little bit, has been able to be beneficial on the recruiting trail?
Yeah, I think recruiting here now compared to when I was here before it's completely different. And I think that showed last year. We signed one of the best classes that BYU's ever had. And we beat the school up north and a number of recruits,
that's Utah for people who don't know.
And and I told these guys in the past, there's some guys that we beat them in that we would have never beat them before if we were still independent and still had the resources that we had before. And so I think recruiting and what we got, our fruits from recruiting, show the commitment and the resources that BYU and the administration's put in. It's helped us land a next level talent, and that's just got to continue to go forward.
Yeah.
When BYU was in the WAC in the Mountain West, they're playing San Diego and a lot of times Fresno, and they were scheduling non-league games against the California Pac-12 schools. And as an independent, they built good relationships with USC and Stanford. And obviously, there's a lot of church members, a lot of kids who grew up dreaming of playing for the Y in California. You're going to lose a lot of those games. Maybe you'll have one here and there, but how much does that impact recruiting? How much do you have to pivot to Texas, which is something we were already seeing a little bit of anyway?
Yeah, we got some great players out of Texas this last year, but I think California is always going to be one of our top areas to recruit because just the number of football, the quality of football that's played there, the membership of the church that's there. But I do think not playing games there is going to hurt a little bit. And so, yeah, there's other things that we're going to have to do, fan fests and getting out there and doing community service and other things with our players, which we've done. But there's nothing like playing a game there. And so I don't know what it's going to be like if Tom's going to be making a commitment with, UCLA or USC here in the future, or doing some home and homes and how that's going to work out. But I do know that is something that we have to do is recruit the state of California, just how good it's been for us in the past.
You look at some of these great programs, and they've got the on-field coaches, but then they're just packed with what we call analysts or recruiting advisors or whatever they may be, and you guys are getting better on that. One of the guys you have is Gary Anderson, who's got over 30 years of coaching experience. I know he's helping you in specific, but he's also helping the defense in general and preparing for opponents once you get going in the season for the next week. How much is that going to help?
Oh, it's been awesome, man. And it's been awesome just to see the guy wearing blue and with the Y on his chest. That's been sweet, right? So all those Ute fans up there are probably like, what in the heck is going on with this guy? But honestly, the time that he's been here since spring ball to now, man, I've learned a ton from him, and he knows this defense as good as anybody. I mean, he taught it to Coach Hill, and obviously Coach Hill's tweaked it a little bit since then. But there's some ideas that he's brought in that we didn't have a year ago, and it's just because of the experience that he has. And the things that I've learned from him and the things that Sione Puja's learned from him, and the combination of us working with him is just going to, I think, take our D-line to the next level.
There is Kelly Poppinga, BYU assistant coach. He caught your ear there.
Well, I like what he said. They're beating T-Sun for some recruits.
The school up north.
Yeah.
T-Sun.
Yeah.
T-Sun.
Yeah.
Not C-Sun, Cal State
No,
Northridge.
but T-Sun, I like
Right.
it.
Right. I think that's important. And I don't think they were getting bludgeoned for a decade.
Lose and lose and lose again.
The obvious difference was stark. Anybody could see it, right? You went independent and they went to the promised land. And today is their last day in the promised land officially. They go to the Big 12 tomorrow. And recruiting, you listen to Whittingham, he only drills it into your head every chance. It's all about recruiting. And so they've got that situation there where maybe they can start winning. And according to Poppinga, they beat T-Sun for some recruits.
T-Sun, you're going to make that stick. Seemed like he was echoing the unprecedented quote that we were talking about a few years ago. They have more bodies, they have better compensated people, they're getting into all the details with nutrition and sleep and travel and all that stuff.
Yes, that's all true. All
but
true.
Experienced
Absolutely true.
analysts, another set of eyes that can work ahead because it's not distracting. They can be better prepared when they start a game week.
Right. That was one of Gary's duties last year. I don't know how many people knew it. He was doing it last year. He was doing it from his residence in Logan. This year, he's on the practice field with the players, with the coaches, and adding whatever he sees in practice. And then, of course, being able to scout ahead so they can get a jump on what they're doing there and all that stuff, particularly with their Sunday issues. And so with that in mind, yeah, the thing about that, though, is they have put in the administration, whoever's in charge of that, has put in a lot more into the program than it was before. But with that, you got to have the results.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's the investment. Nobody wants to invest more and then get the same old, same old. Everybody wants to win.
Yeah, exactly. So these guys are being compensated in a manner that BYU has never done, but I also can argue that there's pressure on these guys in a manner that has never been applied at BYU, knowing that any coach in any situation has pressure to win. We've seen high school guys get replaced for not winning. Seems a little silly at that level, but that's what they do. So certainly at their level, it's right there with the pros. And so they've got to get going here. And talking to people, I've heard the statement, we want to be here in January.
Yes.
Yeah. And that got to have wins. So you can't just beat T-Sun in recruiting. You got to beat T-Sun on the field. And, they did the last time a couple years ago. We'll see what happens this year. I would imagine they would be minimum a touchdown underdog. That's a long ways away. We'll see what happens when we get there. And there are probably going to be a bunch of games that they're not going to be favored in. So you look at their schedule, the obvious ones, Houston and ASU, they've got to win those games, and then they've got to knock off some teams that right now doesn't look like they would be expected to knock off. But who would have thought they had Oklahoma on the ropes, and then they threw that pick that changed everything. So it's not outrageous. I mean, but Oklahoma wasn't all that good last year, right? What was their record? What did they finish with?
I want to say 7-5, but
is that what it was?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I've had multiple BYU people bring up the Texas game as if they were right there. I didn't really see that myself, but I've had multiple guys.
They feel like they were going to win that game.
Well, it felt like the level of competition that they provided.
Oklahoma's 10-3 last year. 7-2 in conference, tied Oklahoma State for second.
Yeah, because it was his second year.
Yeah, it was his
Then it was the first year
that he struggled.
I think they were 6-7. Second year, they got it going on a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, those last 2 games against Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, they were both 10-win teams that went 7-2 in conference.
Yeah. Right. And then obviously the Cougars were there to win both of those.
Yeah, they had
games.
a big lead in the Oklahoma State game.
Yeah. Right. And they've got to figure out ways to close games better, obviously, and then their depth has got to get better. I mean, Bywater's out, right? I mean, he was out the second part of last season, and I think they knew going into this season that
it wasn't getting better. He wasn't even close.
Right. And with that in mind, they've got to have depth. I think that's one of the reasons why they went and got Kelly to come down from Weber and install there. But these linebackers have got to, and everywhere, they need depth everywhere because everybody has injuries. Some years are worse than others. For Utah, last year was really bad. I would think the law of averages and injuries would be better next year. And I did a thing with him, a question and answer spiel, a few weeks ago, and he was talking about that. Everybody knows that first Fiesta Bowl. Mm-hmm. They started the 22 that they started in the beginning. They started
kept them all season long.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then he said the Sugar Bowl, there was like maybe 2, 3. So they had a minimum number of injuries there. And you have to account for them. You don't know who's going to have them, but you know you're going to have them. And to be able to play there. So this is a huge season for BYU. They have got to get better than what they were. And if you just look at it record-wise, it's not like they're going from a 2-3 win season. It's not a total rebuild here like you've had Houston and ASU have, or in the midst of. They literally had a total rebuild. The Devils had their worst 3 years in 80 freaking years. It got no worse than that. So you have to allow them a reasonable amount of time. Well, BYU isn't in that situation. It isn't a total rebuild, not at all. But they need to get better.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Everything you missed in this show is coming up next.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Ike Larson, safety for the Utah State Aggies.
I'm so impressed you stayed committed when Blake Anderson was still in place and came out of season and going into spring, and then got an opportunity to go in the portal, and you stayed committed to this staff as it remains. What has kept you in place through this?
I think just the trust and, the family that I built with Utah State and the new coaches. Coach Johnny, for example, he's been here, 4-6 months, and, our relationship is already great. Me and Coach A's relationship was like none other. I mean, I'll go over to his house if he needed anything, and he'll come to my house if he needed anything. So, it's hard, but I think that's what helps me at the end of the day is, having coaches that trust me and I trust them, that I know will put me out there when the game's on the line.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Time for the 9 a.m. Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown in Sandy. PK, everybody recruits in Utah. Even the ACC is recruiting in Utah now.
Well, it's not the ACC.
Oh.
Don't be so misleading.
What do you know, Yak?
Westlake High School standout defensive end Nusi Tamoya-Peau just announced he is committed to the Stanford Cardinal.
Who are his finalists?
He had Utah and BYU amongst his 5 finalists. There was some hope that he would stay in state, but he's opted to go to Palo Alto.
Good for him. That's a great decision. I don't know how you just do anything but applaud. You put yourself in position to get a scholarship to Stanford through your academics, and then you also had the athletic thing. That's a dream come true, and I mean that in all sincerity.
Stanford, the golden ticket. Respect for that diploma all across the country.
Yeah.
Wherever you want to go. Stanford, ooh.
And if a kid does that, boy or girl, you just say congratulations. Well done, young man, young woman.
The other thing that broke during the show, Gordon Hayward announced his retirement. He got traded to Oklahoma City, didn't really contribute much there, did a lot of sitting, and now he's done. 34-year-old Gordon Hayward hanging it up. Where did the years go?
Through the years.
Seems like it was just 14 years ago. He was launching a half-court shot that hit the glass, hit the rim, and didn't go in. That would have beaten Duke and won the national title at the buzzer.
Yes, and making an all-star team for us here.
2017 NBA All-Star.
I found a positive. Buck Bunnessy from Utah. Congratulations, G-Time. Have a great rest of your life.
We'll get to this in the next segment, but that is going against the grain. Most people are moving on.
And that's scientific.
It is. It is science.
Really. And we know you people, you trust the science.
BYU star linebacker Ben Bywater hanging it up. Not even 50% recovered from nerve damage in his shoulder. He got hurt in the Kansas game last year, and it simply isn't responding. We hear all the time, you never know in football, you're always one play away from the end, and there it is for Ben Bywater.
Well, it's the same thing in life, man. You're 1 minute away from not being here.
And gone.
I don't know if I'll be here Sunday.
That a kid.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks, Shanahan. The most predictable story of the morning. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, wide receiver Garrett Wilson say that their animated conversations we saw on social media have been overblown. You didn't see that coming, did you?
It's such a cliche. They try to downplay it. You can count on it. Any type of interaction that isn't completely lovey-dovey. Oh, no, yeah, everybody does that. Yeah. When Jaime Hill screamed at a player and the player responded, oh, everybody does that. Yeah, and then 2 weeks later, Bronco fired him. Yeah, everybody does that. Except they don't. So you had a scuffle. Verbally, not physically. So what? That's what you should say. Everybody does it instead of saying, no, it's no big deal. Because then you just, now we look for it and try to see other stuff. Whereas, yeah, we had an argument. I thought he should have done this. He thought I should have done that. We went at it a little bit. So what? That's the approach. It's more honest that way.
U.S. is 2-0 in Olympic basketball. Is that more of what you expected after that close 1-point exhibition game with South Sudan?
No worry in the stupid. Once you said exhibition, I was out.
103-84.
Yes.
They had a double-digit lead the whole second half. Had a big chunk of the first half.
That's all that matters.
They were in control. Bam Adebayo, 18 points to lead the team. They'll play Puerto Rico Saturday. First-place team in the group versus last-place team in the group. And then it's on to the quarterfinals, and then it gets interesting. Possibly. Jimmer, Fredette, and the USA 3-on-3 team going the other direction. 0-2 in pool play. Beaten by Poland 19-17. Looked like Jimmer Fredette had a trainer working on a groin injury at the end of the game. He didn't talk to the media on the way out, and they're 0-2. Bad start at the Olympics. They have 6 games in pool play.
Yeah, I didn't watch the game, but I saw him being attended to by the trainer, and she was working it, and he was grimacing. That doesn't look good.
No, it really didn't. He looked like he was in a lot of pain.
I'm talking about look good for the future. In the moment, I don't think there was any question, but I didn't go past
tense. But if it hurts
tense.
that much in the moment, is it going to be better today when they play twice and tomorrow when they play 2 more? It doesn't seem like it.
Exactly.
Yeah. At which point, the dream is over.
Well, they got other dudes on the team, right? Because
they do. They have 4 players for exactly the injury purpose. So we'll see if the other 3 guys can get her done. Jimmer was 2 of 15 shooting in that game. It was a struggle.
Well, law of numbers means he'll light it up if he's able to be healthy. If he's not, it's another story.
We talked a lot of football today. What would you like to tell the people about BYU after making the jaunt down to Provo for the first day of training camp?
Right now, they feel good about their football team to have the success needed to continue building. And I don't think it's hyperbole. I think it's true. I think it's true that they feel it. They're not trying to sell us anything.
Whether they can do it is another matter. But
Exactly.
they honestly, legitimately believe it right now.
They do.
I'd say that's fair, given the level of confidence from the handful of people I talked to yesterday. Some of them we talked to together, some separately.
Right.
But I think that was pretty consistent.
Yes. So we're not talking about winning the conference. We're talking about have a level of success that allows people to remain employed and continues to build. And they really, really believe that the recruiting now is going to get some momentum because of the situation they're in. And they weren't in that situation for over a decade. And
they got the Big 12 label now.
Yeah, it was a tough sell. It's a much easier sell right now, particularly for in-state. And we've got Poppinga saying they're beating the school up north, T-Sun, for recruits. I mean, this is beating T-Sun is about nearly as important as the ability to sign Taysom.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're doing there. A little wordplay.
They've got to get these kids. And you would think that there would be, they always used to deny it. Maybe when they're independent and all, we don't have the same recruiting areas and targets. I never really bought that. Because if I'm an in-state kid, particularly if I'm LDS, and I'm okay with what BYU's about, I always thought before, you had to lean Utah. Now, you have to check out both earnestly and then decide which one is better suited for you. And then check out other ones, like this kid from Westlake is deciding Stanford is best for him. Well, good for that young man. Yeah, and that's really whatever they choose. Especially now, it's not as pressurized a decision. I remember who was somebody way back when, Lou Holt's son, you're not making a 4-year mistake, you're making a 40-year mistake.
It's all one-year decisions now.
Yeah, right. So if it's such a big mistake, well, then you can turn around and leave and go to some other place. And that's the thing about that. Kenny Dillingham's been talking about big time at ASU. Get the bounce-back kid. They got stars in their eyes, and their program isn't near the level of what the programs here are in the state, not yet anyway. And so get the kid on the comeback, and who knows? I mean, BYU's done that because Kalani's done pretty well at that.
Bring him home.
Yeah.
Well, Utah's done it a few times, too. I mean, it's common. Everybody knows now. Everybody knows now who was the Stanford kid who came back to Utah?
Damani.
Yeah.
But I think that was a situation. Stanford they had a coaching change. They were in the toilet. I don't necessarily think it was a football thing where I made the wrong choice. I got to get out of here and get myself in a better position. I think the situation around Damani, I think I said Damani, but I think it's Damani, changed. So I think it's a little bit different. But when you look at the transfer portal for Utah, they've been overwhelmingly successful. There's not that many. There have been a few who left that they don't want to leave. J.J. Jackson and Johnson, the quarterback. I think they would have preferred him stay based on what they've told me in my face. And so with that in mind, but overall, they don't have a lot of kids leaving, and I think that there's no question the transfer portal for Utah has been a net positive, and I think that's the way you need to look at transfer portals these days. Did you gain more than you lost? You look at BYU basketball, and it looks like, they had some transfers, some nice players, but I think they gained more than they lost, and that's important.
All right, anything else you want to share with the people that we talked about today?
Today? No, I think we covered...
That's it. Now we know.
Everything that this show was about as far as that goes.
When we come back, your feedback, that's next. Stay with us.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, it is time now for your feedback today. What you have to say about today's show. Gordon Hayward, an hour ago, put up kind of a thank you note, shouting out his parents, his wife, his kids, his agent, and hanging it up. He's all done. Do you want the Jazz to bring Hayward back like they have brought back D. Will, Ostertag, etc.? LT, nope, I want nothing to do with him.
Cold-hearted, unforgiving. Jesus would be disappointed.
Nick, absolutely not. After what he did, leaving us high and dry, he's the least worthy player to get that kind of treatment. Tiefers, Craig says, no thanks. JJ McIntyre, has he called Gale yet? Call Gale, maybe he'll consider it. Shave.
Hello, Gail. This is Gordon. How are you? Good. Okay, bye. That covers it.
Shave. I don't want him to ruin any more of my holidays, David.
Okay, well, don't bring him out on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Runderwear. Only if Robin says it's okay. Skip. Nope. The guy's not likable. He may have been 26 when he left, but he's 34 now, and his vibe is still the same.
Jeez.
Fly the W. I've never heard of this guy. Who is he? Oh, you've heard of him. Brian with the emoji, the GIF. Nah, we good.
What an unforgiving society I live in.
Michael McCurdy. Yes, there's one. Somebody wants him back. And then Mac the third. Sure. Not a lot of enthusiasm, but he's open to it. There are the two. Everybody else is looking forward.
Yeah, but the whole idea of bringing back players is you have to look backward.
Yep. Matt, bleep Gary Hayward. Gary?
Yeah, so bitter.
There is bitterness, yes.
His departure allowed Donovan Mitchell to flourish.
Yep. Although Michael says, I would bring him back and live my NBA dream viciously through him. I think he means vicariously. Wrong V word. I'm the same age. I also made a bad decision in my mid-20s and truly regretted it. Glad the person I wronged allowed me to make it right. Plus, one of the biggest what-ifs. What if Gordon stays and we add Donovan Mitchell? Ooh.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
What might have happened?
Fair question to ponder. Yeah, I get it. Because they had some guys like Joe Johnson were aging out.
Right.
So you needed some new blood there. I think the team would have been good. I have no reason to think they wouldn't have been good.
But how good? Playoff good. Very good. They won a series that first year.
I think you have to look that and see who else is out there.
Well, the Warriors were rolling at that
Right,
point.
so you weren't going to beat them.
Right. They got to the second round. Maybe you could have won a few more regular season games and avoided them to the conference final. But then what happens in the conference final? You lose to the Golden State Warriors.
Right, and that's part of it. And like I insist that Jazz team in the late 80s was capable of winning a title, but they ran into the Lakers.
Loaded.
Yeah. And I think that was the best Jazz team. I think it was that team was better than the 90s teams that got there. Some of it is circumstantial in terms of who you play and who's available on the other team and all that stuff that goes into it. Unless you're like the Lakers and the Celtics back then and the Warriors and the Bulls, it didn't matter who you played because you were just better than everybody.
Loaded.
Yeah. And sometimes we have teams. I don't think we got a team like that right now in the league.
Now, what they've done raising what you can pay star players while putting on that, it's not a hard cap, but it's close with the way they tax you and then double down on it.
Yeah.
It makes it hard because you've got to pay your best players and then you don't have enough to put the rest of the team together and make it dominant. So when you're healthy and everything lines up, you get one, but then, as we can see, you can't get another.
Right, which is good and bad for the league, but I think that's where we're at. And occasionally, and we'll see, it'll probably happen again at some point, there'll be a team that is clearly above everybody else, and they're the team you've got to beat. And if you're in your conference, you're probably not going to get out of it. And that's the way we have it, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, we have that right now in the AFC West.
Good luck beating Kansas City.
Yeah.
But this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Nobody wins forever.
No.
Although they might win for a while longer.
Yeah, we'll see. If injuries don't factor in and all that, yeah, they look like they can do that, and good for them. They got it going on, right? And away they go. But I think that Jazz team could have been certainly better, but I don't think they were going to beat the Warriors because obviously no one was.
In their heyday.
In their Hayward day.
Good one. All right, DJ PK, there is your feedback. That'll do it for us. Thanks for joining us today. Jake and Ben are coming up next right here on The Zone.